system of American series in the Rebirth of America. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126, Dark Temperament. TBBT apartment. Oh, I'm the stinky fish. Leonard chose to try to set the date for the next date, but Penny kept shirking. Even he knew that he was not the delicious meal that Penny would savor forever as he imagined, but the stinky fish that Penny wanted to spit out immediately in Howard's mouth. His initial self-esteem collapsed immediately, and he lay on the sofa and wailed all day. Sheldon next to him twitched his eyes and was tortured by the secret that Penny forced on him. After asking Penny to lift the confidentiality to no avail, he decisively chose to escape from the apartment. First, he stayed at Rajesh's apartment, and then he was driven away by Rajesh and sent to Howard's house. Finally, Howard gave him a few sleeping pills and sent him back to Leonard. Because not everyone has the strong endurance that Leonard has developed from his bizarre growth experience and has the greatest tolerance for Sheldon's difficulties. As for why he was not sent to Owen, please, in their eyes, Owen is the kind of strong man who revels every night, which is not convenient at all. Sheldon, who was drugged, began to be confused and told the secret that Penny came to him with a sense of inferiority to ask if she could be with Leonard. Leonard thought he had found the best solution and happily found Penny with the admission guide of Pasadena City School, the kind with the lowest requirements. Anyone can go to school, hoping to make Penny's dream of City University come true. The result is imaginable. But fortunately, this time Leonard knew where he was wrong, and his mental state was much better than before, and he calmly accepted the result of this failed date. 2 weeks later, Renaissance Festival. Because America is an immigrant country and does not have the long history of the other side, it is mediocre in digging into its own history and heritage. The Renaissance Festival is one of them. They are held regularly or irregularly in various places. They are usually outdoor retro weekend gatherings, open to everyone. Everyone can wear costumes from the Renaissance to Elizabethanite a party. The main theme is to restore that era. Of course, there may be some fantasy element, elves, centaurs, vampires, werewolves, etc. Needless to say, Sheldon and his friends are indispensable for parties where cosplay can be performed in public. Heretics dare to set foot on the sacred land. Sheldon, wearing the robes of medieval Western monks and missionaries, with a holy cross hanging around his neck, saw Owen and Emily appear in vampire costume and shouted at Emily. Emily looked at Owen speechlessly. Owen gave a calming look and said to Sheldon, "This is a heretic I caught. I will take him to trial." Sheldon glanced at Owen's demon hunter costume, looked at Owen, shrugged, and put away his serious expression just now. Okay, everyone is ready. Let's go," Leonard suggested with a smile. Sheldon and his 4 companions were in one car, while Owen and Emily were in another. When they got in the car, Emily opened her mouth, showing her fangs, staring at Sheldon's neck, which was very white and tender, because he stayed at home and often wore baby pink, and licked her tongue. Sheldon was more timid than a chicken, not a metaphor, and Emily was carefully dressed up, plus she had a unique dark temperament. When the blood-sucking fangs were opened, Sheldon, the holy monk, was immediately frightened and screamed, hiding behind Leonard and trembling. Ha ha ha. Emily laughed at this, and the previous displeasure disappeared. She smiled at Owen and said, "I have a feeling that this is the most fun cosplay party I have ever attended. So are we." Leonard looked at Sheldon's trembling appearance, and the corners of his mouth curled up high. Although he could tolerate Sheldon's quirks, it didn't mean he liked them, or he didn't like them, until he got used to them. Therefore, every time he saw Sheldon being humiliated, it was a rare enjoyment in his painful life. "What are you doing?" At this time, Howard's puzzled voice came. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw Rajesh holding Howard's arm, trembling slightly and timidly not daring to look at Emily. "Are you kidding?" Because there were girls around, Rajesh couldn't explain. He leaned over to Howard's ear and bit his ear. Howard shouted speechlessly, "It's okay for Sheldon to be afraid of this, but he is afraid of you too." I like this trip more and more. Emily smiled, half revealing her fangs on both sides, with a mysterious smile on her face, which scared Sheldon so much that he hunched over and shrank behind the short Leonard again. Rajesh tightly grabbed Howard's arm, lowered his head, stared at the ground, and dared not look directly at it. Okay, let's go. In the car. Rajesh, are you sure you are not kidding? Howard was embarrassed by Rajesh's performance today. Of course not. There were no girls around, so Rajesh fought back without any hindrance. Don't you notice? Emily has a mysterious dark temperament. Yes. Yes. Sheldon nodded repeatedly, patted his chest, and looked scared to death. Really? Leonard frowned and thought while driving. It seems that there is a little bit, Howard suddenly said. At the human body plastination exhibition, I felt that she had a problem. How could a normal girl be so interested in a skinless human body? Do you think she is really a vampire? No. Sheldon's mind once again flashed the scene of Emily pointing her fangs at his neck, and he crossed his arms and shouted in horror. She is a doctor. It is normal for her to be interested in the human body, right? Seeing that Howard was getting more and more outrageous, Leonard couldn't help rolling his eyes. But isn't being a doctor the best cover identity for vampires? Howard leaned close to Sheldon's ear and described in a very strange tone. Think about those vampire movies. Many vampires are doctors. With this identity, they can easily suck blood and filter food according to the hospital's database. It's not surprising that some vampires like the blood of highly intelligent geniuses. No. Sheldon was almost scared to tears and shouted, Leonard, enough, Howard. Leonard glared at Howard speechlessly in the rearview mirror. He also liked to see Sheldon in trouble, but definitely not the kind of complete collapse. Because once Sheldon completely collapses, it means that he will be tortured to collapse by a madman. Howard sat back in his seat and laughed. Although Sheldon always mocks Howard's education and work, Howard has seized the opportunity to prank Sheldon many times, like now. The two of them are obviously in a love-hate relationship. P.S. Thank you Mr. Bayan book friend 20180622224908067 for the reward. As the book is about to be released, the update time will be changed to 12 o'clock and 2000 hours. Chapter 127 Blood-Sucking Fangs. Los Angeles. Griffith Park. As the largest urban park in the United States, it is world famous for the 5-story high Hollywood giant English sign on the mountain. It is the first choice for citizens around Los Angeles to spend the weekend. This Renaissance festival was held in Griffith Park. When Owen and others parked the car and followed the crowd to a corner of the park, it had already left the modern city and turned into a medieval world. Various ancient people dressed in various costumes gathered in groups of 3 or 5, chatting happily. The surrounding facilities were also replaced by the service staff sent by the local Renaissance festival organizer, Kinko's Company, with imitation antiques from the Renaissance period. Waltz too. Wow. Indeed, the first two sounds were the whispers of Leonard and Rajesh, and the exaggerated exclamation at the end was undoubtedly made by the wretched Howard. Hello, Howard not only exclaimed, but also greeted the service staff of Kinko's Company, some of whom were plump, but had to change into corsets worn by medieval women, because of this special holiday, in an obscene way. The waiters rolled their eyes, looked at Howard with disgust, and turned away, because from Howard's point of view, it was obvious that he was not greeting them. I like it here. Howard followed the brutal waitress reluctantly and murmured obscenely, this year's Renaissance festival is the best I have ever seen. You have to be kidding. Sheldon's eyes widened, pointing at the retro facilities and shouted, this is simply the worst one. Look at these facilities that are full of historical common sense errors. The big-bellied wine glasses are made of polypropylene. Can you imagine it? Jesus Christ. You can't just add a word retro in front of everything, which means that everything is retro. Are you sure? Emily leaned close to Owen's ear and said a few words. Owen's eyes lit up, and seeing Emily returned an affirmative smile, he raised the corners of his mouth and said to Leonard and others, you guys go around first. I'm going to take Emily to the Inquisition for trial. Leonard and the other two were dumbfounded. Inquisition? Sheldon's eyes lit up, and he raised his hand, saying, I'll go too. Ahem. Owen coughed lightly and refused. The scene of the Inquisition will be very yellow and violent, and it's not suitable for you to watch. Okay, that's it. You don't have to wait for us. After that, without waiting for Sheldon to protest, Owen took Emily away. Isn't it the Inquisition? Sheldon has Vulcan hearing and heard Owen asking the service staff in the distance. He asked in confusion, "Why is Owen looking for a nearby cemetery?" "Holy crap," Rajesh exclaimed. "Is Emily really a vampire? It's getting more and more creepy." This time, even Leonard couldn't stand it. "Sheldon, are you sure Owen is asking about the cemetery?" "Of course." Sheldon nodded affirmatively. "Come on." Howard saw that the three of them were all caught up in their horrific imaginations and looked surprised. He was too lazy to tease Sheldon anymore and directly used his accidental superpower to tell the truth. Owen is obviously going to enjoy happiness. Emily is a doctor and has some special hobbies. It's normal, right? "Really?" Leonard said uncertainly. "Go to the cemetery? Are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure." Howard rolled his eyes. "If it were me, as long as I could be happy, I would go to any terrifying place without saying a word." "You are really making a fuss." Forest Lawn Cemetery, located in the Hollywood Hills in the northern suburbs of Los Angeles, adjacent to Griffith Park. It has picturesque scenery and a peaceful environment. It was already dusk. "Don't tell me that one of your ex-boyfriends is buried here?" Owen came here at Emily's suggestion, looking around at the endless tombstones and joked, "What would you think if I said yes?" Emily did not comment and smiled mysteriously. Haha. Owen was not Rajesh, and he chuckled when he heard that. "If that's the case, please point out his location, and I'll go say hello to him and say thank you." "Thank you?" Emily was stunned. "Of course I say thank you." Owen smiled brightly. "Because of him, it's more interesting and exciting. Shouldn't I say thank you to him?" "Yes." Emily's mouth curled up, revealing two fangs, which exuded a different kind of brilliance under the dim sunset light. "But it's a pity." "Nothing to pity." Owen hugged Emily, reached out and stroked the fangs at the corners of her mouth, and said meaningfully, "I have always wanted to see how powerful the fangs of vampires are when they suck blood." Emily understood and was speechless about Owen's shameless eye. "Aren't you afraid of dying from excessive blood loss?" "It doesn't matter." Owen smiled brightly. "Even if I lose 10 times more blood, I won't die." Emily looked around and saw the whole place was dead silent. The dark hobby deep in her heart burst out violently. She pushed Owen hard, knocked him to the ground, and bared her fangs. "Awoo." Leslie Winkle woke up from a hangover and looked around at a large group of men and women she didn't know. She was in a daze for a while. She had experienced similar hangovers countless times. She used to enjoy it, but now it was the first time that she felt that such a life was boring. She took her phone and saw a text message from Howard. She clicked it and saw that it said, "Leonard and Penny's relationship is like blue ice thrown from the toilet of an airplane." Leslie's mouth curled up, and she quickly replied, "Lol." Laugh out loud, pushed away a thigh that was pressing on her, pulled up the scattered clothes, put them on casually, stepped on the crowded crowd, left the bar, went back to the apartment, took a shower, changed clothes, and turned back into the female scientist that Sheldon called his mortal enemy. P.S. Thank you for the reward from I'm Your Destined Husband. Chapter 128 Genuine Guard Howard. Call Tech. Faculty cafeteria. "Sheldon, how do you feel about going to class with Leonard?" Owen joked. Humph. Sheldon looked disgusted and dragged his voice. "It's such a waste of time to teach these Labrador dogs. I really can't understand why someone would instill in these mortals the wrong idea that hard work will lead to success, and that with their qualifications they will one day make great contributions to theoretical physics. Humph. The person who said this is simply fooling them, and fooling them to death. I really feel sad for the future of science. I guess the expressions of those graduate students will be very interesting." After listening to Sheldon's class, Howard joked, "You can't even imagine it." Leonard said helplessly. One graduate student even vomited. He regretted asking Sheldon to give lectures to the new graduate students. Of course, it's not completely without benefits. At least the graduate students who have listened to Sheldon's lectures will find that Dr. Hofstadter is still very charismatic. Haha. Rajesh added, "I guess when Sheldon turns around, all the graduate students will raise their middle fingers." That's not the case. Owen saw a figure out of the corner of his eye, and a strange smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Maybe there are graduate students who admire Sheldon very much, or even female graduate students. Leonard and the other two were stunned, and then laughed. Owen, are you kidding? Are there graduate students, or even female graduate students who admire Sheldon? Drive Cooper? At this time, a girl walked over excitedly. I'm Ramona Nowitzki. I listened to your lecture last night. I think you are such a genius. Most people think so. Sheldon is extremely narcissistic about his genius, so he replied calmly. Ramona is a real fan of Sheldon. She has read all of Sheldon's papers. After a conversation, Sheldon was quite surprised and promoted her from a stupid Labrador to a wise Labrador. Holy shit. After Ramona left, Howard was stunned and shouted, "What did I just see? A woman actually took the initiative to pursue Sheldon? Can we date female graduate students?" Rajesh asked in confusion. Of course. Owen said very confidently, as long as you can date them, you can date them. Leonard and Howard showed a clear expression, and the envy in their eyes could not be concealed. Damn it. Always set traps for me. Rajesh complained weakly. Leonard, are there any similar courses? Howard said excitedly. Next time, please invite me to be a guest. I must show my charm in front of this group of fresh and delicious freshmen. Sorry. Leonard said seriously, the guest must be a doctor. So at this point, Leonard smiled. But your suggestion is very good. I was too casual before. What happened just now made me realize that even Sheldon can attract girls, so I can do it too. It's time to show the charm of Dr. Hofstadter. Howard's mouth twitched, and he glared at Leonard hatefully. Leonard's words were rough, but his point was not rough. He did not have a doctorate degree, and he really could not learn to do the same as Sheldon. But who was he? Howard? Are you kidding? How could there be no workaround? Hey, darlings, eat some more delicious pies, store more fat, reduce your charm, and keep those dirty handsome guys away from you. Daddy, I can wait. Howard. Irving, you are such a talent. Irving exclaimed. You can be the king of the world of vulgarity. I agree. X2. Leonard and Rajesh nodded in agreement. Thank you. Howard accepted the compliments from Irving and the other two without changing his expression. Ding dong. Irving's cell phone rang, picked it up, and looked at it. The corners of his mouth curled up unconsciously, and pressed the connect button. Hi, Rachel. Calm down. I know. Go over now? No problem. I'll be there tonight. After hanging up the phone, Irving stood up and smiled at everyone. There are things to deal with in New York, guys. See you later. It's a woman's call. It must be another deep-seated woman looking for Irving. God, if I had 1/10 of Irving's charm. After Irving left, Howard envied. Don't even mention 1/10. I'll be satisfied with 1%. Leonard pouted. Me too. Rajesh nodded in agreement. Based on the frequency of Owen's coitus, you will never be able to reach 1% of his level in your lifetime. Sheldon often stabbed him in the back. Leonard can't even reach 1,000th. Come on. Leonard shouted. How is this possible? Why can't I even reach 1,000th? This is true. Sheldon raised his head, looked directly at Leonard, and said seriously, according to calculations, as of now, the total number of women Owen has coitus with has reached 5,210, with a fluctuation of 66 people. 1,000th is 5.2 people. Let's take 5 people. Leonard, how many women have you coitus with? I coitus. Don't say coitus anymore. Leonard shouted. I have also dated many women, okay? For example, Howard added. There are Joyce King, Leslie Winkle. Speaking of this, Leonard paused because he really couldn't go on. We should inform the editors of the Oxford Dictionary that the word many has been redefined as two. Sheldon's words hit home. Ha. I despise you. Howard laughed at Leonard, raised his head, straightened his tight collar, and smiled proudly. Sheldon, you still have good vision. The data is very accurate. 1%, that is, 52 people, is very consistent with the actual situation. If you didn't tell me, I really didn't notice that. Except for Irving, I'm the most manly among us. This smile was very annoying, making Leonard want to throw the plate in his face. Come on. Leonard shouted. Can Howard have 52 people? Of course. Sheldon said seriously. Based on Howard's experience, the number of people he can coitus in his lifetime is indeed close to 52, of which 48 must pay. Howard was stunned on the spot. Leonard raised the corners of his mouth and said in a dragging voice, "Ha, is that so? Then what about after deducting the number of paid people? You still have to ask me such a simple math calculation?" Sheldon's brain circuit is completely different from Leonard and the others. He muttered, 52, 48. Of course it's 4 people. Thank you, Sheldon. Leonard looked at Howard with ridicule. This data is indeed very accurate, don't you think so, Howard? Rajesh added, I can testify that this data is very accurate, haha. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129 Friends. New York. Friend's apartment. Room 6A. Monica, what are you doing? After the door was pushed open by a pair of handsome white young men, a girl in a nightgown was seen with her ear pressed against the bedroom door. The shorter young man had a meaningful smile on his face. Eavesdropping? Oh my god. Where did the giant panda come from? Where did you take Monica? The other handsome young man looked exaggerated and funny. Shh. The nightgown girl Monica interrupted her eavesdropping and walked towards the two people. She put her finger to her mouth to signal them to shut up and smiled strangely with a pair of panda eyes. There's someone in Rachel's room, someone. The shorter handsome young man's smile became more and more weird. Of course we know there's someone, but I actually prefer that there's no one inside. Oh, shut up, Joey. Monica and the two are old friends. Seeing Joey's expression, she knew that he had fallen into the unhealthy fantasy of girl-girl war again. Wasn't Rachel very sad yesterday? Another handsome young man, Chandler, sat on the sofa, looking at Rachel's bedroom door, and asked in surprise. Yes. Monica sat down and yawned heavily. Rachel returned the wedding ring to Barry yesterday, but found that Barry and his chief bridesmaid Mindy went on a honeymoon. It was a big blow to her. It doesn't look like that. Joey was looking for food in the kitchen and said jokingly, I don't know what happened after that. Monica rolled her eyes and said, I only know that in the middle of the night, I was suddenly awakened by the movement in Rachel's room, and then I couldn't fall asleep again. Oh my god. I never knew that the sound insulation of our room was so poor before. Are you kidding? Joey was pouring milk. Hearing the rich connotations in Monica's words, his hand tilted, and the milk fell on his hand. He quickly put his hand into his mouth, licking it without wasting it, and shouted in disbelief, the whole night. It's still there now? As he said that, he was about to run to the bedroom door. It just ended. Monica raised her wrist and looked at her watch. I know it's 6 hours, from 1 AM to 7 AM, and the quiet time in between is no more than half an hour. Wow. Joey widened his eyes and flattered himself. It's comparable to my Joey Tribbiani. Rachel must be in a very good mood today. Creak. The door was pushed open again, and a man and a woman walked in. The man was honest and dull, and the woman had blonde hair draped over her shoulders, tall and beautiful. What are you doing staring at Rachel's bedroom? Hey, Ross, phobe, guess who is the happiest woman in the world? Chandler waved his arm and laughed exaggeratedly. I know. The blonde girl phobe brushed to raise her hand, but did not give an answer immediately. When everyone looked at her, she smiled shyly. Well, I don't know, let me think about it. Everyone was speechless. Ross's eyelids jumped. He pointed at Rachel's room and stammered, you are not talking about Rachel, are you? Did she get back together with Barry? I want to know, too. Monica looked at Ross sympathetically and reached out to hold Ross's hand. How could she not know what this brother who had been secretly in love with her good friend Rachel since high school was thinking of her? But it shouldn't be Barry. Oh, Ross breathed a sigh of relief. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth and asked, why? I know. Phoebe had already learned what happened from Joey at this time and raised her hand again and shouted, because Barry can't make Rachel so happy. What? Ross was confused, but then he saw Joey's demonstration of 3 fingers on the left and right, and understood the meaning of happiness, and his face suddenly turned green. Monica glared at Joey fiercely and comforted him. Ross, are you okay? In fact, the facts may not be what we think. Yes, maybe Rachel suddenly likes music, practiced her voice all night, and taught herself baritone. Before Monica finished speaking, Chandler started to humorously stab her again. Ha ha ha. Joey laughed, pointed at Chandler, squinted his eyes, and gave a thumbs up. Hey, guys. At this time, the bedroom door opened, and a blonde beauty in pajamas lazily greeted everyone. Hi, Rachel except for Ross, Phoebe and others all greeted Rachel with a meaningful smile. Rachel was startled, and when she saw Monica pointing at her neck, to remind her of something, she suddenly thought of something, and a blush flashed across her moist face. She smiled embarrassedly, and walked into the bathroom quickly. Wow, it seems that Rachel is really happy, Phoebe couldn't help but exclaimed. I'm more and more interested in who is in there now. Joey's mouth curled up. Come out, I hope it's a big beauty par. Monica took the pillow and hit Joey hard. Hi. At this time, a handsome Asian young man walked out of the bedroom, facing the eyes of everyone staring at him, and greeted him without restraint. Hi Monica, Chandler, and Joey responded normally. Ross just moved his lips, and Phoebe shouted exaggeratedly, hi. Macho Monica couldn't help but cover her face. Rachel, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone? Rachel heard the noise outside, and ran out of the bathroom quickly, holding her pajamas tightly, to cover the red mark on her neck, walked to the side of the Asian youth, facing everyone, and introduced both parties awkwardly. Guys, this is Owen. Owen, this is everyone. Hi, Owen. Monica and others greeted in unison. Hi, everyone. Owen swept his eyes over these familiar faces, and in the surprised eyes of everyone, he pointed out the identities of everyone one by one. You must be Monica. You are Phoebe. You are. How did you know? Rachel was a little confused. You told me. Owen raised the corner of his mouth. We talked about everyone last night. After listening to your introduction, everyone completely matched the impression in my mind. Haha, chatting tonight. Joey winked and laughed meaningfully. I heard that you chatted all night. No wonder you recognized us. Shut up. Joey. Monica hit Joey with the pillow again, coughed lightly, and asked, so, Owen, how did you and Rachel know each other? Do you know Barry? Owen smiled and said, I'm his chief best man. Everyone was stunned. They looked at the embarrassed Rachel on the left, and then at Owen, who was standing there with a smile. The scene suddenly became quiet. Only Joey nodded slightly with a meaningful smile. Chapter 130. Owen is poisonous. New York. Central Park Cafe. Barry's best man. Monica sat on the sofa for chatting, and shouted to Rachel, who was dressed like a waitress, but had no professionalism at all. Rachel, are you kidding? Yeah, this is too. Ross jumped out to agree, but under the scrutiny of everyone, especially Rachel's bright eyes, he panicked and forgot the words. I know this is not good, Rachel said in a struggle, but you also know that Barry has gone too far. Not only did he go on my honeymoon with my chief bridesmaid, but he also implanted hair and made her wear contact lenses, and he also kept saying that he was not happy with me before, and that he was truly happy after being with Mindy. Oh, God, I'm so angry. We all understand. Chandler said seriously, I heard that you scolded Barry all night last night. Barry really went too far. Joey lowered his head slightly and winked. Barry and your chief bridesmaid, you and Barry's chief best man, clapping in revenge. It's exciting, but you also have to take care of your health. Ross glared at Joey unhappily, looked at Rachel, and said hesitantly, so, Rachel, who is this Owen? I mean, apart from the identity of chief best man, where did he come from? Rachel racked her brains for a long time, before patting her head and saying, I remember that I vaguely heard Barry say that Owen was a doctor. Another doctor. Chandler laughed casually. Rachel, your father is not also a doctor, right? Yeah, how did you know? Rachel was stunned and said subconsciously. Chandler was speechless and said perfunctorily, I guessed. After that, he turned around and grinned at everyone secretly. Everyone smiled knowingly, knowing that Rachel had a bit of an Oedipus complex and had little resistance to various doctors. The reason why she ran away from Barry, a doctor, was mostly because Barry was not handsome enough. They were not surprised at all that she clapped her hands in revenge for finding a handsome doctor like Owen. Doctor? Ross's face turned worse, and he pressed on. Is he the same doctor as Barry, or a PhD like me? No matter what kind of doctor, both doctor and PhD are the same word. It means that Owen's social status is no worse than his, and it also means that the possibility of him and Rachel being serious is greatly increased, which is what Ross doesn't want to hear. Rachel thought about it again and again in distress, but her mind was full of indescribable things, and she didn't have many other memories of Owen at all. I know. Just as Ross's face was getting worse, Rachel clapped her hands and shouted, Owen should be a PhD like you, because he doesn't look like a doctor like my dad and Barry. Ross's mouth twitched, and his sitting posture changed again and again. He was about to speak, when he was interrupted by Rachel again. That's not right. Rachel shouted. He seems to be the same doctor as Barry. What's different and what's similar? Monica said speechlessly. Owen is Barry's best man, and he spent so much time with you last night, and you don't even know what he does? I really don't know. Rachel said embarrassedly. I didn't pay attention before. I was very angry last night, and then my mind went blank. I'm still a little confused now. Doctors all have some characteristics, right? Monica reminded. Your father is a doctor. Barry is a doctor. You should know what a doctor looks like. I know. Rachel was entangled, so I said Owen doesn't look like a doctor, but he is very familiar with the human body. Oh my god. I mean the kind that is very familiar. Do you understand? I understand. I understand. Joey smiled ambiguously. Now I want to exchange experiences with this Owen even more. Owen is obviously from the other side. Phoebe continued. I heard that people from the other side all know some other side kung fu and other side witch doctors. Is that true? Yeah. Chandler laughed and said, Owen's witch doctor on the other side is so powerful that he can make people's minds go blank. I want to learn it. Me too. Joey smiled ambiguously. Stop. Monica glanced at her eldest brother's increasingly ugly face, patted them both with her hands, and said to Rachel, So, Rachel, what do you think? Yeah, this Owen is so good. If you just use him as a tool for revenge, it would be a waste. Phoebe's brain circuit is very clear. Of course, if you really just think so, please tell me in advance. The witch doctors on the other side all know massage. You also know that I'm a masseur. Communicating with such a man who is very familiar with the human body will definitely improve my workability. Monica was also quite moved when she heard it, but she suppressed it rationally in an instant. I don't know. Rachel murmured, but being with Owen is so happy, a happiness I have never thought of, just like D grade. Ross replied unhappily. Yes. Rachel didn't notice Ross's attitude, or she chose to ignore it. Just like Ross told her that he had always had a crush on her, she said she had always known it, and then she said she had no idea that Ross loved her deeply. It seemed contradictory, but in fact, it reflected the mentality of a goddess. For a girl like her, being secretly loved by someone is a common thing. Knowing it but not pointing it out, being close yet distant, enjoying the admiration of more people. This is a qualified goddess. It's like D grade, although I haven't tasted it, but I know that the feeling is even stronger than D grade. Because you have tasted this. Haha. Joey nodded and smiled, with an ambiguous look on his face. I believe it. Chandler said seriously, because drugs can't make you last for 6 hours in a row. Just like no matter how much we love smoking, we can't smoke for 6 hours in a row. Enough. Ross stood up and shouted. Seeing everyone, especially Rachel, looking at him in surprise, his mouth twitched, and he forced a smile. Just now I suddenly remembered that I have to accompany Carol to the pregnancy checkup, and her lesbian girlfriend will go with me. I'm a little upset. Oh, Rachel nodded in understanding. Seriously? Monica looked at Ross sympathetically and said seriously, Rachel, did he ask you to meet next time? Yes. Rachel tilted her head and thought for a while. The time is set for the weekend. Today is only Tuesday. Phoebe counted on her fingers. There are still 3 days. Oh, it's a bit bad. Why? Rachel asked, puzzled. How can people who are in love bear not seeing each other for such a long time? Phoebe smiled. No. Rachel denied. We are not in love at all. How can we be passionate about it? It seems that you don't even know where he works. Monica said with a smile. That's not the case. Rachel shook her head and said, he seems to be in California. He flew here overnight. California? Everyone was stunned. Is there any problem? Rachel said ignorantly. Of course there is no problem. Chandler waved his hand and said, one is in the easternmost part of the United States, and the other is in the westernmost part of the United States. The distance is only 4,000 kilometers. There is no problem at all. It seems that there is no possibility between you. Monica said while secretly patting Ross. Ross sat down again and looked much better. In America, even 10-year-olds know that long-distance relationships are impossible to succeed. P.S. Thank you for your award for pretending to be a little bit every day. Chapter 131 Peak Theory. Weekend. Friend's apartment. Room 6A. Hi, everyone. Hi, Owen. Rachel is still in the bedroom. Wait a minute. Got it. Owen came to pick up Rachel for a date. Like Leslie Winkle, although the long chaotic life is exciting, it feels good to have a date with ordinary people occasionally. Just like people who are used to eating big fish and meat, occasionally eat some vegetables and tofu to scrape off the fat. But this can only be done occasionally because it is the nature of carnivores to eat meat. Now that she has just escaped from marriage, the very young Rachel Green is absolutely the peak of beauty. Even if she is tofu, she is Zishi tofu, which meets Owen's standard for scraping fat. Oh, Ross held a can of beer in his hand and murmured sadly, this is Carol's favorite beer. So, Chandler said speechlessly, she never uses cans. I should have known that she is a lesbian. Ross said seriously. Chandler couldn't help rolling his eyes. Carol is Ross's ex-wife. She is pregnant with Ross's child, but she came out and lived with a lesbian. This was a big blow to Ross. Everything he saw reminded him of his past with Carol. Ross, Carol is the only woman you have ever had contact with, right? Owen was watching with interest and couldn't help laughing. How did you know? Ross was shocked. Holy shit. Chandler exclaimed. Is this true? Ross, you have only had sex with Carol? Yeah. Although Ross didn't want to show weakness in front of Owen, under Owen's clear eyes, he couldn't say the denial, and responded weakly. Owen, you are not a psychiatrist, are you? Monica asked curiously. That's not the case. My doctorate is in mathematics. Owen smiled and said, I'm now a mathematics professor at Caltech. Mathematics professor? Monica and others looked at each other. They guessed again and again, but they couldn't put Owen and the mathematics professor together. So young? Ross was very surprised. Assistant professor? No, full professor. Owen smiled reservedly. Oh, my god. Ross exclaimed. How is this possible? Any questions? Monica and others were not engaged in academic research, and they had no idea of the difference. Seeing Ross so shocked, they asked curiously. After Ross told them about the difference, everyone took a breath and looked at Owen with a different look. Ross used to be a genius in their eyes. He got a doctorate in archaeology, worked as an archaeologist in a museum, and was a lecturer at a university. He had a good income and his social status was firmly ranked first among everyone. But according to Ross, Owen, who was about the same age as him, was far ahead of him. How sharp. In the scientific contempt chain, archaeologists, geographers, writers, etc., belong to the bottom and have always been despised. If Sheldon were here, he would definitely roll his eyes in disgust. Archaeologist. Oh, I have a good friend Matthew who is very similar to you. Owen smiled calmly. He has only been with one girlfriend for so many years. The last time he broke up, he would think of the past between him and his girlfriend whenever he encountered something. What happened next? Ross asked with empathy. Time will dilute everything. Owen's mouth curled up, but there are ways to speed up this process. According to my good friend Barney's peak theory, the average man's brain can only store a certain number of peak shapes. Unless you store new images, they will not disappear. Monica couldn't help rolling her eyes. Is there really such a theory? Ross asked in surprise. Of course not. Owen laughed and said, Barney made this up, but it makes a lot of sense. From the perspective of memory, you don't even have any other sample memories in your mind that can be compared. Naturally, you have a very deep memory of the only data, so your mind is often full of this only memory. Your friend Barney is really an expert, Chandler exclaimed. Haha. Owen laughed and said, you can think of Barney as the ultimate version of Joey. Oh my god. Monica was stunned and said, is there a guy who is more romantic than Joey? Haha. Owen smiled reservedly, not saying I'm an enhanced version of Barney, and changed the subject. Ross, if you need, I can introduce Barney to you. For your situation, he likes to help you the most. How to guide? Chandler asked curiously. Let's go to the strip club. Owen said truthfully, since the sample memory is insufficient, then increase it quickly. Is there any place that can increase the sample memory faster than the strip club? Yellow website? Chandler said subconsciously. This is different. Owen shook his head and smiled. The number of pictures on the internet is indeed huge, but it is useless for increasing memory samples. It must be experienced in person in reality to be effective. Ross should have experienced this, right? What experience? Joey suddenly pushed the door in. We are listening to Professor Irving's lecture, and now we are talking about Ross looking at yellow pictures. Chandler turned around and looked at Joey's outfit and said with a smile, what are you doing? You put on makeup? Yellow pictures. Joey pointed at Ross with both hands and smiled ambiguously. I must share it when I have a chance. I don't. Ross retorted with a lack of confidence. Guess who got the role in Al Pacino's new film? Joey said with suppressed excitement. Oh, God. Monica exclaimed. Joey, it's you. You succeeded. What role did you play? Can you imagine? Joey didn't answer, but continued to talk to himself. He is the reason why I started my acting career. I like him so much, and now I have the opportunity to work with him. Honestly, what did you play? After everyone cheered, Ross asked. I play %% what? I said I play Al Pacino's butt. Joey couldn't get away with it, so he just told the truth. He walks into the bathroom, and then I expose his butt for him. Ha ha ha. Fuck. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then burst into laughter. What's wrong? What's wrong? Rachel dressed up, and walked out stunningly. Ross's eyes were full of complexity. Joey's funny roller, but substitute couldn't suppress the sourness in his heart. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, Owen. Owen left with Rachel, leaving Ross with a lost face. Carol was just his ex-wife, and Rachel was his true love. Chapter 130. To a Beautiful Mind. Friend's apartment. Room 6A. Everyone sat in front of the TV, watching the TV interview intently. Only Chandler walked around anxiously and tried to turn off the TV, but was suppressed by everyone. Chandler, I have to tell you that I like your mother's books very much. I must read them every time I take a plane. Rachel turned her head to look at Chandler and said excitedly, I didn't expect you to be Nora Bond's son. God, your mother's books are so wonderful. Yes. Chandler laughed self-deprecatingly, especially when you were only 11 years old, when your classmates and friends around you rushed to pass them around. I will never forget that wonderful feeling in my life. I've read it. I've read it. Rachel shouted. I was very shocked at the time. Your mother's description of those indescribable wonderful things conquered me. At that time, I wanted to follow your mother's path of literary creation. Owen hugged Rachel, listening to their stories, and the scenes of his previous life flashed in his mind. At that time, he was still in high school. Like many of his classmates, he was deeply addicted to novels, and could not extricate himself. He read novels day and night. Each student rented 3 copies of the large books with small fonts and read them in turn. He could read 1 or 2 books a day. The wonderful page about Liu Bei was torn off and passed around. He read it over and over again. The most memorable thing was that a classmate was reviewing the page about Liu Bei in class. He felt hot all over, and his face was red. The teacher found out that it was abnormal and confiscated the page. When he came to care about it, almost everyone in the class had read it, including girls, so everyone understood what happened at that time and burst into laughter. The new young driver, under the teacher's scrutiny and speechless eyes, was almost buried in his desk by the laughter of the old and young drivers. What a wonderful time. Owen fell into memories and was awakened by Phoebe's cry. Here she comes. Everyone stopped talking and looked over. On TV, a graceful woman in a suit came up with a smile and waved. Chandler, your mother must have been a great beauty when she was young. Owen sighed. In fact, the woman on TV is also a great beauty now, but Owen knows that in a world without superpowers, there is no such thing as an ageless goddess. No matter how beautiful and attractive the ageless goddess is on TV or in other media, if you meet her in real life, she will definitely blind the eyes of her admirers. No matter how beautiful a woman is, she cannot resist the ravages of time. On TV or in magazines, those youthful figures in pictures are all modified with heavy makeup or directly photoshopped. Beauty fades easily, it's no joke. Fuck. Everyone expressed their dissatisfaction in unison. Sorry. Owen apologized and turned his attention back to the TV. The male host asked, Nora, let's talk about your book first. You were arrested in London for a book signing. What was the reason? Mrs. Bing, it's a bit embarrassing to say, but sometimes after being intimate with a man, I really want to eat kung pao chicken. Too much information. Chandler shouted at the TV. Ahem. Owen looked around and saw that no one reacted much. He thought to himself, it seems that I think too much. Eastern and Western cultures are still a little different. Kung pao chicken should just be kung pao chicken. Well, it should be like this. The male host licked his lips and continued to ask, you are promoting your new book now. What are your plans next? Mrs. Bing, well, my next stop will be New York, and then I will fly directly to Pasadena. Pasadena? The male host was surprised. Why not Los Angeles? Although it is in California, Pasadena is just a medium-sized satellite city affiliated with Los Angeles County and the greater Los Angeles metropolitan area. The book signing event should not be held there. This involves my next book. Mrs. Bing smiled and said, during this time, I had the honor of meeting members of the Eternal Spear Choir and had a lot of fun chatting with them. I accidentally learned some very interesting information, which inspired me and made me want to collect materials immediately and create my next book. If my agent hadn't stopped me again and again, I wouldn't even want to hold a book signing event. You may not know that for us writers, when inspiration comes, the urge to write it down is so strong. Cough cough cough. Owen kept coughing, and suddenly he had an ominous premonition in his heart. I understand. The male host smiled reservedly. In fact, I'm also a part-time writer. I know very well about what you said, Nora. I think even if you interrupt the publicity plan, your fans will be disappointed, but they will forgive you. After all, they must be like me, looking forward to the inspiration of your next book. Can you tell us briefly? Of course. Mrs. Bing smiled and said, everyone has seen A Beautiful Mind, right? Of course I have. The male host calmly continued, when this movie came out in 2001, I went to see it on purpose. I was deeply shocked by the alternative life of the genius mathematician John Nash in it, and was also moved by his wife Alicia's decades of loyalty to her husband. I remember that California Institute of Technology is in Pasadena. Nora, is your inspiration also about genius scientists? Yes. Mrs. Bing changed her previous calm and elegant demeanor and said excitedly, there are many geniuses in this world, and the world of geniuses is often far away from us. The prototype of A Beautiful Mind is Professor John Nash, the winner of the Nobel Prize in Economics, the father of game theory, and a mathematics professor at Princeton. The person I want to explore this time is exactly the same. However, I cannot reveal more information without his permission. But believe me, the story of this genius scientist is definitely more exciting. Owen, I remember that you are a mathematics professor at Caltech. Do you know who Mrs. Bing wants to interview? Rachel looked up at Owen. Yes. Everyone looked over at the same time. This shouldn't be difficult. Joe, I analyzed. The Eternal Spear Choir is so famous. If they have any intersection with a genius scientist at Caltech, there must be information on the internet. We can check it out online and we will know. Smart. Ross patted Joey on the shoulder and took out his mobile phone to search. Ahem. Owen grinned and said with some pain, no need to check. If I'm not mistaken, the person Mrs. Bing wants to find is me. What? XN. Chapter 133 Public Opinion Storm. New York. In a Chinese restaurant. You must be the founder of the Eternal Spear, the legendary tuner they mentioned, the supreme conductor. Mrs. Bing enthusiastically stepped forward and shook Owen's hand, looking him up and down, and excitedly greeted him. Owen Lee. Owen smiled bitterly and greeted him. It's not that exaggerated. I'm just a mathematician. Everyone, sit down and talk, Monica reminded. Yes, yes. Mrs. Bing held Owen's hand and sat down next to Owen and said attentively, Owen, can you tell me about your experience in detail? No. Owen refused. I don't want to make this kind of private matter public. Why? Mrs. Bing was puzzled. If they didn't lie to me, your experience is a legendary story that shows your charm and glory as a man. If it were someone else, they would even be eager to publicize it. I'm not someone else, am I? Owen smiled. The licensing fee is negotiable. Mrs. Bing skillfully tempted her with benefits. You may not know that the sales of each book I wrote started at 1 million copies, and once your legendary story is published, I believe the sales will be even more explosive. With the subsequent film and television copyrights, the licensing fee you can get will definitely be an astronomical figure. Money and fame are meaningless to me. Owen smiled reservedly and calmly. I'm a simple mathematician. When money reaches a certain level, it is really just a string of numbers. So I'm sorry, I still can't agree to you. In addition, if possible, I hope you will not mention the information about me and the Eternal Spare in the future. In the United States, copyright protection is very good. If Owen, the person involved, does not authorize, Mrs. Bing will not be able to write at all. Owen also asked about the leak of the 12 golden hairpins of the Eternal Spear. I have to admire Mrs. Bing's methods. When she was partying with Karen and others and drank too much, she heard them always mention the name Owen. She was very sensitive to the story, so she used her words to lead the drunk Karen and others to speak out. After hearing Irving's legendary story, Mrs. Bing, as a writer, especially Liu Ben as writer, was filled with inspiration, which led to the previous scene. Think about it again. Mrs. Bing looked disappointed and said unwillingly, I know that as a top scientist, you are not short of money and fame, but it would be such a pity if such a legendary story was covered in history. Maybe one day, I will authorize someone to write a biography. Owen said firmly, but definitely not now. Okay. Mrs. Bing said disappointedly, if there really is such a day and I'm still alive, I hope you can authorize me, and I will definitely write your legendary story very excitingly. Definitely. Owen smiled and agreed, but he complained in his heart, don't joke. Let me become the male protagonist of Liu Ben? Don't even think about it. Mrs. Bing, I'm your fan. Rachel said eagerly, when I read your book Fun at Midnight, my mind was full of thoughts that I wanted to be a writer too. Owen's mouth twitched, and he thought to himself, this is America. Liu Ben's book can be popular, appear in public seriously, and be discussed enthusiastically. Don't say that. Mrs. Bing said modestly, what I can do, everyone can do. You just need to start by describing a few European cities and use more than 30 euphemisms to describe a man's brothers, and then, boom, your book is done. Insightful. Owen was full of praise. This statement may seem crude, but it deeply reflects the truth of Liu Ben's book. The great way is simple. There will definitely be an audience for writing a book in this way. Owen. Mrs. Bing looked at Owen again and asked tentatively, although you can't write a book now, can you tell us about your legendary stories? Everyone wants to hear them, right? Yes. Joe raised his hand and shouted, tell us. We promise not to spread it. Yes, tell us. Rachel pushed Owen and said curiously, let Mrs. Bing tell us. Owen pushed back. He also wanted to know how much the other party knew. Okay. Mrs. Bing's eyes flashed, and she readily agreed. If there is anything wrong, you must point it out. Hisso, my god. Impossible. Are you kidding? Jesus Christ. I can't believe it. After that, various exclamations and gasps of cold air came one after another. Owen smiled bitterly. He always felt that it would be bad for him to make such things public, and his feeling was not wrong. In fact, when Mrs. Bing said those words in the TV interview, even the silly and cute Joe could think of a way. How could the various media and the Eternal Spear fans not think of it? After cross-searching the Eternal Spear and call Tech, Irving was immediately identified. Since Irving and his team could not be interviewed for the time being, they all flocked to the Eternal Spear Choir, bombarded with various sharp or large-scale questions. In addition, after going to Irving's alma mater, North Shore High School, where the Eternal Spear was founded, for on-site interviews and excavations, news headlines that shocked the American people came out one after another. Chinese scientists conquered the Eternal Spear. The Eternal Spear belongs to this man, Zhang Owen, and the scientific community. The story that the 12 golden hairpins and this man have to tell. The most powerful man on earth. The secret of the Eternal Spear. Various headline parties work together to instantly make a sensation in America. Although the Eternal Spear Choir has become a little outdated in recent years, it was once popular for more than 10 years and has a large number of fans. You can imagine this way, a foreign scientist, or even an African brother, has this kind of connection with the most popular girl group on the other side, or swept the 4 major actresses and 4 small actresses. As a fan of the other side men and the most popular girl groups and actresses, what would they think? I'm afraid there are many people who want to eat this African brother alive. Although America claims to be free and democratic, and constantly promotes racial equality in various blockbusters, the more it promotes, the more it lacks. Racial discrimination in America is the most serious. In the discrimination chain, Chinese Americans are even far inferior to African brothers, and can be said to be at the bottom. When Owen's deeds were dug up, and even artificially distorted and magnified, you can imagine how American men feel. Although Owen is a beautiful soul, how many American people are willing to accept this beauty after it is rendered in yellow? Very few. A storm of public opinion began to sweep towards Owen. P.S. Thank you for the super awards from Huangji and Bjarkson and Sebastian. It will be on the shelves at 12 noon tomorrow, and the 3 chapters will be released together. Book friends who like this book are requested to subscribe and support. Thank you. Chapter 134, Remarks on the Release. From the publication of the book on January 7th to the listing on March 15th tomorrow, it has been more than 2 months. Thanks to Wu-Tang and Fengai for signing and recommending. The author was listed on Sanjiang for the first time and strongly recommended. I'm very excited. Maybe because this book is too niche, the effect of Sanjiang and strong promotion is better than nothing. Therefore, before listing, the author was very nervous. Some book friends said that the author wrote it completely for his own pleasure, but if the author himself is not happy when writing a book, then what is the point of writing it? The quality of the results really determines the direction of a book. The book is originally niche. If everyone does not support the genuine version, or keeps supporting it, it can really kill a book. The author's initial motivation for writing a book must be self-satisfaction. But what about after tens of millions of words? It can only rely on the subscription support of book friends who like this book. If it only relies on self-satisfaction, then it will definitely explode on the spot in the end. The author is a real handicapped party, and the speed of typing is very slow. Other authors update tens of thousands of words a day, with a speed of 5,000 or 6,000 words per hour, which is completely the existence that the author looks up to. From conception to writing, and then to reading and proofreading, the author's speed is about 2,000 words/3 hours. Before, he wrote 4,000 words twice a day, which took 6 hours a day. For a part-time person, this is almost all his spare time. Sometimes he is thinking while working, so the update after the release really depends on the results and everyone's subscription support. If the results are good, the author will work hard to code more and update 3 times a day. But if the results are not good, he can only rely on the author's self-motivation and a monthly attendance bonus of 600. 2 stable updates a day are really the limit for the author. Every author has a full-time dream, and the author is no exception. But according to his family, writing novels is not as easy and stable as moving bricks. It's sad to think about it. The reason for this is that writing novels not only consumes the brain, but also hurts the body. The waist, back, neck, shoulders, and fingers are all the hardest hit areas of occupational diseases. Others don't know, but every time the author sits there for more than half an hour, he starts to feel uncomfortable all over. If it's longer, his waist and back start to ache. The author is an introvert and likes the path of being an online writer very much. His current job has no future, money prospects, So although there are many difficulties, he still hopes to continue. But continuing is absolutely inseparable from your support, so I solemnly request everyone again to support the genuine version. Even if you like to keep it and read it together, please subscribe in full to support it. Thank you. The release time is Friday, which is tomorrow at 12 o'clock noon. At that time, all 3 chapters will be released together. Because of the subscription performance statistics and the fact that I have no manuscripts saved, I owe the first Rudder 2 chapters, 1 first Rider chapter, and because it was delayed until now, I will add 1 more chapter to apologize, a total of 2 chapters. I will rush it out as soon as possible in the next few days. Thank you for your support. Chapter 135 Fermentation. Pasadena. TBBT apartment. Room 4A. Look at this comment. Leonard was holding his phone, scrolling through the comments. How could a Chinese be so powerful? It must be a rumor. There are a lot of replies below. I would also read out, although I don't want to admit it, according to various signs, this Chinese scientist is indeed so powerful. He is simply a mysterious oriental power, but he used this power to tarnish our glory, and the eternal spear choir is so disappointing that they all succumbed to a Chinese. Shit. I'm going to kill this Owen Lee. Second. Rajesh was also scrolling through the comments and exclaimed, "Oh, Owen has caused a big thing this time. Do you think we will be implicated?" Leonard and Harwood looked up at Rajesh. "I'm just saying it casually." Rajesh said weakly, "One of you is a local white man, and the other is a Jew. Naturally, you can't understand the fear of us foreigners. Just think about being threatened by these crazy white people. Fear is almost frightening, okay?" As he spoke, he stood up and went to the bathroom. He had to pee when he was nervous. Poor kid. Harwood shrugged. Rajesh's worry is not unreasonable. Leonard said with a serious look, "Look at the number of people who seconded the motion. Although I don't want to admit it, racial discrimination is still very serious in our America. The situation is so crazy now. I think I should advise Irving to hide for the time being and not show up, otherwise God knows what will happen." Creak. The door was pushed open. "Guys, have you read the news on social networking sites?" Penny walked in with her phone in hand. "Owen is famous." "God, I wish I could be that famous." "That's easy." Sheldon said seriously, "You just need to post a comment online saying that you and Owen have coitus, and there will definitely be a lot of people following you." No. Although Penny was tempted, she was not a fool. She smiled bitterly and said, "I'm afraid that I will become famous, but no one will want to invite me to act." "Ha, I thought no one would invite you to act now." Sheldon looked surprised and stabbed her in the back. Penny stared at Sheldon, and seeing that he didn't care at all, or didn't understand that he had stabbed her in the back just now, she smiled helplessly, walked to the sofa, and lay down there. "Penny? What? That's my seat." Sheldon sat at the table, writing a paper on the computer, with his back to everyone, and didn't turn around, and said directly to Penny, "So?" Penny said speechlessly, "So?" Sheldon turned around, put on a silly expression, and explained word by word, "No one can sit in my seat. You're not sitting now." Penny shouted, "What does it matter if I sit or not? What does it matter?" Sheldon raised his voice. "It starts again." Leonard muttered softly, "That's my seat." Sheldon began to complicate the simple problem again. In this ever-changing world, this is the one thing that does not change. Assuming that my life is represented by an equation based on a 4-dimensional rectangular coordinate system, this seat has become 0, 0, 0, 0 since the moment I sat on it. What? Penny, the poor student, was confused. "Don't sit in his seat," Leonard reminded her concisely. "Okay." Penny moved away speechlessly and mocked, "Are you happy?" "I'm not unhappy." Sheldon shrugged, turned back and continued writing his paper. Penny glanced at Sheldon's back, rolled her eyes and said, "Sheldon, aren't you Owen's good friend? Now Owen is in trouble, and you don't care about him. Why?" Sheldon said while writing his paper, "I can't help with these things at all. I still remember, when I was 10 years old, the taste of the sandwich toast I ate changed. After doing some experiments, I found that it was the problem of the toast bread. The bread manufacturer was acquired by other companies, and the quality of the new bread became worse. In order to let everyone have a bite of good bread, I launched a protest and contacted the TV station for an interview, but inexplicably it turned into a disaster in the end. Everyone said I was Suhan. My father almost lost his job. My grandmother waved the American flag in one hand and the Texas flag in the other hand in front of her door every day, singing the national anthem and state anthem. We were almost expelled from Texas and the United States. The whole family was very angry with me and didn't even talk to me. Oh, poor little Sheldon. Penny was stunned, then looked at Sheldon with pity. What happened in the end? How was it resolved? I don't know either. Sheldon frowned and said, I only remember that my father took me to the TV station in the end and only let me say, I love America. Then when I wanted to say something else, my father interrupted me. Afterwards, I asked why, and my father told me that I was not suitable for protesting, and I should not try to help others out, especially when it comes to race, country, and politics. I still don't understand why. This is not simple. Leonard whispered beside him, just look at the results of your usual protests. Dr. Gablehouse wants to completely dismantle the mailbox in the dean's office, to prevent it from being filled with your complaints and suggestions again and again. Sheldon bulged his eyes and stared at Leonard. I was providing them with perfect correction suggestions. They didn't follow them. Should I pretend not to see it? My fault. Leonard's mouth twitched, and he wisely admitted his defeat. They should unconditionally follow your perfect suggestions. Sheldon couldn't hear the sarcasm. Seeing Leonard agree with him, he turned around and continued to work on his paper. In his eyes, his father, who had passed away a long time ago, had a low IQ, but he still had to follow some of the advice that he still couldn't understand. Irving's public opinion storm was obviously a racial discrimination issue. Because of the deep memory of his 10-year-old year, Sheldon chose to ignore it. It must be said that for Irving, this is definitely good news. So, where is Irving now? Penny saw Leonard's sarcasm, and seeing that Sheldon didn't notice it, she smiled knowingly and changed the subject. New York. Howard smiled obscenely. I guess he's buried in the arms of one or more beautiful women. Accepting comfort seeing Penny looking at him with disgust, Howard put away his obscene expression, lowered his head, and said weakly, I mean, if I were Irving, I would choose to heal my wounds this way. Holy shit. Turn on the TV. Leonard scanned the news and shouted. P.S. Thanks to Sang Sang Dat, Kegwan01, Limi Wuwo Giant 23, WENHE asterisk SE, and Bookfriend 2019031509501806 for their awards. It is now on the shelves. I sincerely ask book friends who like this book to subscribe and full to support it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 Angry, Chicago. In an elegant villa. Mom, it's Uncle. A 5 or 6 year old, fair-haired little girl, lying on the sofa watching TV, shouted after seeing a picture on it. Baby, what uncle? In the kitchen, an elegant and charming woman came over, hugged the little girl, and asked with a smile. Mom, it's the uncle who came to our house before. The little blonde girl leaned in her mother's arms, and pointed at the TV and shouted. Hey, baby, you are so smart. You still remember Uncle Irving. The girl's mother looked sideways, and saw Irving's head portrait placed in a corner of the TV. She smiled and stroked her daughter's hair, then frowned, but found that this TV program was not a positive interview, but seemed to reveal a scandal. On TV, the host introduced, Dear audience, everyone must be very familiar with the recent scandals between the Chinese scientist and the Eternal Spear Choir, but today our program is not about revealing these scandals, but the scientific achievements of this Chinese scientist Owen Lee. Now, please welcome the famous mathematician Dr. Martin Lewis. Hello, everyone. Hello, host. A middle-aged white man in a suit and tie came up and waved with a smile. I'm Martin Lewis. Hello, Dr. Lewis. The host smiled and greeted, and then introduced to the camera. Drive Lewis is a senior researcher in the Department of Mathematics at the University of Chicago. He has won the Wiener Applied Mathematics Award and is an absolute genius scientist. But this is not the reason why we invited him to our program. The reason why we invited Dr. Lewis this time is because he has had a very wonderful intersection with Owen Lee, who has been very popular recently. Before that, let's take a look at Owen Lee's academic journey. In 1995, 18-year-old Owen Lee enrolled at the University of Chicago. In 1998, 21-year-old Owen Lee graduated from university. In 1999, he began a master's and doctoral program in the Department of Mathematics at the University of Chicago. In 2001, he published a paper that solved a world math problem that has been solved for thousands of years. In 2002, he received a doctorate in mathematics from the University of Chicago. In 2003, a solution to the 7 great math problems of the millennium, P=NP, was widely recognized by the mathematics community, and he was awarded $1 million by the Clay Mathematics Institute. In the same year, he won the Wolf Prize. In 2006, he won the Fields Medal, the Nobel Prize in Mathematics. In 2007, he accepted the invitation of the California Institute of Technology and became a full professor in the Department of Mathematics at the California Institute of Technology. At the age of 30, he was the youngest full professor. It is not difficult to see from these resumes that the fundamental reason why Owen Lee reached the pinnacle of his life was because of this millennium math problem. It has been 7 years since he solved the millennium math problem in 2001, and Owen Lee has not made any achievements during this period. He didn't go to college until he was 18, and his high school and college experiences were ordinary. During his doctoral studies, he suddenly became brilliant and solved the millennium mathematical problem that had troubled countless scientists for many years. After that, he returned to being ordinary again. This makes us wonder, is Owen Lee really a genius? Did he really solve this millennium mathematical problem? Nonsense. The elegant and charming woman frowned and said, there are so many scientists in the scientific community who have achieved success late in life. Not every genius will continue to skip grades. Brilliant breakthrough achievements are even more rare. How can this be a reason to attack Owen? Mom, what are you talking about? The little girl in her arms looked up at the woman and asked ignorantly. Nothing. The woman smiled to herself. She was just a TV viewer. It was useless to say these things. Thinking of this, she stood up, took her phone, and dialed Owen's number, but found that the line was busy. She shook her head with a wry smile and murmured, this guy is still so romantic. At this time, I'm afraid that all the women who care about him are calling him. After saying that, she was still worried and dialed a few more times. Seeing that the line was still busy, she took the phone, returned to the sofa, hugged the little girl, edited a text message, sent it, and continued to watch the TV interview. On TV, the interview continued. Let's look at Dr. Lewis' resume. His IQ is as high as 180. He went to college at the age of 13, graduated at the age of 15, and obtained a doctorate in science and mathematics at the age of 20. He has won countless awards during this period. Today, he still publishes heavyweight breakthrough papers every 2 years. This is the most common resume of a genius mathematician. The host avoided the main point and mentioned the so-called countless awards and heavyweight papers. Then he changed the topic and said, the reason why Dr. Lewis was invited here today is because he and Owen Lee had a dispute over the ownership of the millennium mathematical problem. Let's listen to Dr. Lewis' introduction for the specific situation. Okay, host. Martin Lewis smiled slightly. In fact, P=NP. The real cracker of this millennium mathematical problem is me. Owen Lee stole my research results. Wow. In front of the TV, countless viewers who saw this scene were in an uproar. Really? Fake? Impossible. Can an award of this level be faked? I knew it. How could the yellow monkey be so powerful? Sure enough, there is a problem. TBBT apartment. Holy shit. Penny opened her mouth wide and asked subconsciously, is what they said true? Is it possible? Of course it's not true. Leonard shook his head and said, but it is possible. In the academic circle, there are examples of grabbing other people's research results and publishing them first every year, but the influence varies. Can it be like this? The poor student Penny was very shocked. Calm down. Hallwood smiled and said, the IQ of top scientists is similar. It's just inspiration that distinguishes achievements. When a scientist accidentally speaks out his inspiration, it is learned by another scientist, who compiles a paper and publishes it in advance. What's so strange about this? Wow. Penny's IQ is not high, but her EQ is not low. She thought of the problem at the first time. According to what you said, even if Owen has no problem, but they say so, it becomes a problem. After all, this kind of inspiration plagiarism cannot be verified at all. Yes. Leonard and others were stunned, and then nodded with a worried look. New York. In the top floor apartment of 157. Owen sat on the sofa, watching Martin Lewis talking on TV with an expressionless face. If Penny could see it clearly, how could he not see it? It was obvious that the TV station cooperated with Martin Lewis to throw dirty water on him. At this moment, when the whole nation was attacking Owen, even if it was not shit, it would be shit. The most important thing was that this matter involved reputation. Even if Sheldon and others believed in themselves, they could not guarantee that they would not be shaken under the influence of public opinion. And once they were shaken, their friendship would definitely be fatally affected, which was simply preventing him from proving his truth. P.S. I urge all book friends who like this book to subscribe to support. Chapter 137. Slap in the face. On TV. The interview is still going on. Martin Lewis talks freely, describing himself as a tragic figure, while Irving becomes a complete villain. I never thought that Irving Lee is such a person. The host sighed happily as he listened to the director reminding him that the ratings of the show were skyrocketing. In the United States, the news media is an independent force, and some programs even dare to expose the president's dirty laundry for the sake of public influence. In this period of public excitement, it is completely politically correct to criticize Irving. No matter what the truth is, even if Irving sues them, they, who are backed by a large media group, are afraid of a Chinese scientist. Martin is also happy from the inside out. He and Irving, one doing research at the University of Chicago, and the other studying for a doctorate in Chicago, are both mathematicians, so how could they not have intersections? But Martin Lewis is a white supremacist. He does not have the achievements of a top scientist, but he has learned the bad habits of some top scientists. He instinctively looks down on Chinese scientists like Irving. Science is limitless, but human energy and lifespan are limited. Therefore, the topic of scientists is very important. If the choice is wrong, all the hard work in life may be meaningless. The topic he was studying at that time happened to be the millennium mathematical problem P equals NP. When Owen, a doctoral student, solved this problem that he had been studying for many years, but had not been able to solve at lightning speed, his years of hard work were ruined. Coupled with the inexplicable sense of shame, he was extremely hostile to Owen. Therefore, at that time, he abandoned his face and fabricated the inspiration plagiarism incident, wanting to attack Owen's reputation and reduce Owen's chances of winning the award. However, because there was no evidence at all, the scientific community would naturally not agree with his point of view. Over the years, he could only watch Owen reach the peak of his life because of this millennium mathematical problem, but he did not expect that Owen would be exposed and arouse the disgust of most American men. When the public opinion storm started, Martin Lewis sensitively realized that his chance for revenge had come. In the past, no one in the mainstream scientific community would pay attention to him, no matter how he clamored. But now, with the help of the power of the storm of public opinion, his speech can play a very big role. Ordinary people don't understand at all, and they don't care about evidence or no evidence. They only believe, and are willing to see what they want to see. Once public opinion surges, it will definitely spread to the scientific community. Even if Irving's status as a Fields Medal winner cannot be revoked, it will disgust Irving. It is even possible to force Caltech to fire Irving. The most important thing is that just like the scientific community ignored his undocumented clamor at the beginning, Irving can't prove himself at all, even if he is innocent. Tit for tat. Thinking of this, Martin Lewis felt unblocked all over, and the smile on his mouth became brighter. What? The host was stunned for a moment and asked again by pressing the headset. Then, the smile on his face could not be concealed at all, and he said to the camera, "Dear viewers, I have good news to tell you. Just now, the program team received a notice that Owen Lee, who had been reluctant to be interviewed, called and asked to join the live broadcast and confront Dr. Louis face to face. Dr. Louis, do you agree?" Of course. Martin Louis was also stunned, but he quickly reacted and smiled confidently. "I accept any confrontation." "Great," the host said happily. "It will take some time for Owen Lee to get here, so let's go to a commercial first. Dear viewers, please don't leave. The exciting battle between genius scientists will be staged soon." Ding-ling-ling. "Teacher Major?" Owen answered the phone while rushing to the New York TV station. Uncle Owen. The first person to speak was not Mary Major, but a crisp child's voice. "It's Emma." Owen raised his lips and smiled softly. "How are you doing recently?" After teasing little Emma for a while, she returned the phone to Mary Major. "Teacher Major, don't worry, I'm fine." "I know." Mary Major smiled. "I just think you shouldn't go there. Even if you want to accept a TV interview, you should choose a more fair one. The bias of this program is too obvious. It's not suitable for you to go there. Do you think that with the current public opinion, which TV station will be biased towards me?" Owen laughed at himself. "It's because you, the little bad guy, have gone too far." Mary Major scolded with a smile. "You wiped out the Eternal Spear and made them famous. Now you are in trouble, right? Do you regret it?" "Regret?" Owen laughed. "If it were any man, he would not regret doing those things. Just like the scene of you, Teacher Major, bowing your head to drink water. Unless you are not a man, you will be moved. You little bad boy." Mary Major recalled the past, with the corners of her mouth raised high. At that time, she was only 26 or 27 years old, which was the most beautiful age. Now, in the blink of an eye, 14 years have passed. She has entered middle age, married, and has a lovely daughter. Over the years, Owen and her have always had a very good relationship. This valuable villa was bought by Owen himself and given to her when she was getting married. Of course, what she cares about is not this, but the relationship between Owen and her. You know, when Owen asked her to borrow money, she lent it without saying a word. In America, this is definitely a very close relationship. If Owen was not infertile, even if Owen was very fickle and always claimed that he would never get married, she would also want to give Owen a few children. Love grows over time. It's no joke. Are you sure? Of course. Owen smiled confidently. Martin Lewis, this bastard, thought he could throw dirty water on me in this way, but he didn't know that a true genius is omnipotent. Then I'm relieved. Mary Major felt Owen's confidence and smiled with relief. Go get them, tiger. Go get them, tiger. Just when Owen wanted to respond, Emma's stuttering but clear and pleasant voice sounded, which immediately warmed Owen's heart and laughed. "Little Emma, you must watch TV. See how Uncle defeats the big bad guy." New York TV station. Here we go. A group of news media reporters had received the news and gathered downstairs of the TV station. When they saw Owen's car coming, they rushed up and wanted to take first-hand information. The live broadcast images of various media spread throughout the United States in an instant and even radiated the world. After all, the collision of two genius mathematicians was unimaginable to ordinary people, and with the blessing of the Eternal Spear scandal, it attracted people's attention. P.S. I sincerely ask book lovers who like this book to subscribe and full to support it. Chapter 138 Get Out of the Way. New York TV station. Dear viewers, welcome back after the commercial break. After seeing the current ratings, the host said in high spirits, "Let's not waste time talking. Now let's invite our two guests tonight, Dr. Martin Lewis and Professor Owen Lee, please." Owen and Martin walked up one after the other, smiling and waving. "Professor Lee, thank you for accepting our interview." The host changed his previous hostility and greeted him very warmly. "There is no other way. If I don't accept the interview again, you will say that I'm an unlearned and unskilled person who is deceiving the world." Owen laughed at himself. Haha. The host's face froze. He laughed dryly a few times and instantly restrained his emotions and said, "Professor Lee is joking. We are just discussing the facts. What the truth is still depends on your debate. That's right. Martin Lewis continued. Owen, we know the truth best. You were still a doctoral student at the time, and I was already a senior researcher. The topic I was researching was the proof of P equals NP, and there had been a breakthrough at the time, but I didn't expect you to intercept my idea and publish it first. I have to say that when it comes to pirating ideas, you and your compatriots on the other side of the strait are geniuses. As soon as these words came out, the American people who were watching the live broadcast were boiling. Ha ha ha. Well said. That's so accurate. Yeah, it's impossible for the people on the other side to have original research. They all plagiarize and pirate our results. Not only does FK not pay copyright fees, but they also compete with us. It's too much. I believe Professor Louis. This is simply a microcosm of the two countries. It's a pity that the other side is still trying to have two flowers blooming. FK has two flowers blooming. When we just bloomed, they have already borne fruit. Shit Chinese scientists, get out of my great America. On TV. Although there were no live audiences, Martin Louis seemed to have heard the voices of many American people. The corners of his mouth were raised high, looking down at Owen, his eyes full of provocation. Am I taking the blame for my country? But I just want to say, my compatriots, well done. Owen seemed to be able to feel the sourness of the American people. He complained in his heart, but said slowly, Drive Lewis, do you have any evidence to support your statement? Of course. Martin Lewis was obviously prepared. I have the draft of the proof of the idea at that time, but it was not completely completed. Then why doesn't the scientific community agree with your original idea? Owen sneered. It's very simple. Martin Louis said angrily, because you people from the other side are really geniuses in plagiarism. Not only did you copy my ideas, you also changed them in a very short time. The scientific community was completely deceived by you. Damn you yellow monkey. You only know how to plagiarize. The scientific community is bullshit. They actually condoned him to plagiarize. There's nothing we can do about it. If we can't produce solid evidence, there's no way to characterize inspiration plagiarism. We can only say that this Chinese scientist is too cunning. Martin Louis was very smart. He knew that he had no evidence to show for it, because what's fake won't be real. But as long as he sticks to Owen's identity as a person from the other side and his outstanding achievements in piracy, he will win. Bang bang bang. Owen applauded and praised. Excellent. Dr. Louis, you should be a citizen of the great universe, right? No. Martin Louis was stunned and decisively denied. I'm a pure American. How is it possible? Owen was shocked. If you are not a citizen of the great universe, how could you say such a shameless thing? MMP. Xentrillion. As soon as these words came out, a voice almost rang in the hearts of the citizens of the great universe who were watching. Martin Louis didn't understand this joke. He was a mathematician. So how could he care about the excellent certification results of the great universe in every corner of the universe? According to your logic, if you want to become famous, you just need to copy those famous scientists. Owen laughed. Inspiration is something that can be obtained, as you say. Congratulations, Dr. Louis. You can use this superpower of copying inspiration to become the greatest scientist in history. Nonsense. Martin Louis was a little embarrassed, but after being reminded by the host's eyes, he regained his composure. I was originally studying the topic of P equals NP. You plagiarized my inspiration and accused me of copying. Why don't you see me copying others and only copy you? That's because you are racist. Owen thought so in his heart, but he would not say it out loud because he had just discriminated against race once. Professor Lee. The host interrupted. Do you have any definite evidence to prove that you didn't plagiarize Dr. Louis' inspiration? TBBT apartment. Oh. Leonard exclaimed. What's wrong? Penny asked, puzzled. Owen is in trouble. Leonard frowned and said, in the scientific community, you can only prove that others plagiarized your inspiration, but you can't ask people to prove that they didn't plagiarize others' inspiration. This host is obviously setting a trap for Owen. It doesn't matter. Penny shook her head and said, Owen is so smart. We can see this trap. How could Owen not see it? Leonard glanced at Penny and pouted hard. Although he knew that what Penny said was true. Why did he feel so uncomfortable listening to it? So scary. Rajesh complained while drinking. Owen is really amazing. If it were me, I would have peed a long time ago. It can't be you. Sheldon usually stabs in the back. Why can't it be me? I'm a foreigner too. Rajesh shouted. I know. Sheldon added seriously, but the prerequisite is that you must have the same achievements as Irving. Otherwise you are just, you, an unknown foreigner. Rajesh burst into tears. Ignore him. Howard comforted his good friend. You are still very successful in the field of astrophysics. Of course. Sheldon unknowingly completed a triple kill easily, for you. Rajesh is indeed very successful. Howard glared at Sheldon, but Sheldon gave a silly smile in return. Howard was immediately discouraged. What could he do about a person who didn't know sarcasm and irony at all? He couldn't really make a crossbow and kill Sheldon, right? Or, he could try. Just as Howard was imagining the scene of killing Sheldon in his mind, on TV, facing Martin Lewis' provocative gaze, Irving raised the corner of his mouth and said confidently, I have it. Everyone was shocked. P.S. Thanks to BBO Bayo, Langiying 007, and bookfriend 201903150950180061 for their awards. The results are average. When the author got up in the morning and saw it, he was disappointed. The book is niche and the collection is not high. The first order is like this. It is definitely not a problem of updating, but the quality of the book is not enough for everyone to support the genuine version. The author is now writing books part-time, and he is not good at it, so he will guarantee 2 updates every day in the future, and strive to improve the quality of the book. The time points are 12 o'clock and 2000 hours. Once again, I beg everyone to subscribe to the genuine version. For every 200 increase in average subscription, I will add 1 chapter. Chapter 139 report. Someone is cheating here. New York TV station. What? Martin Lewis's face was frozen with defiance, and he shouted in disbelief, you have it? With an IQ of 180, he still couldn't figure out how Owen could have evidence. The only explanation was that Owen was bluffing him. Very good. Since you have it, then show it to us. Martin Lewis sneered. He was not bluffed. The host said excitedly, Professor Lee, please show us the evidence. I have a question. I would like to ask Dr. Lewis first. Owen smiled. Please speak. Martin Lewis calmed down completely, with a calm smile on his face. Why has no one questioned that Einstein and Newton plagiarized other people's inspiration? Owen asked. TSK. Martin Louis vaguely guessed Owen's routine, but he didn't think Owen had the slightest chance of success, and sneered. It's very simple. That's because they are all the greatest scientists. Everyone has many great scientific achievements. One scientific achievement may be luck, or plagiarizing someone else's inspiration, but 2, 3 or even more outstanding achievements can only prove that this is a great scientist. If you want to prove that you didn't plagiarize my inspiration, it's very simple. Just show your genius again, and make outstanding achievements recognized by the scientific community. The key is, do you have it? In other words, as long as I have it, it can prove that I'm a great scientist and you are a clown who slanders me? Owen asked. Martin Louis paused, and his heart began to beat. Looking at the confident Owen, he thought to himself, could he really have another breakthrough achievement? He naturally knew that Owen was a genuine genius scientist, and it was not completely impossible for a genius scientist to have another breakthrough. Thinking of this, Martin Louis said with a guilty conscience, if you have another achievement, no, 2 achievements that can be comparable to P equals NP, I will admit that you are a great scientist. TBBT apartment. Oh, no. Leonard shouted, how is this possible? What's wrong? Penny, a poor student, asked, is this achievement difficult? Of course it is difficult. Howard continued, this is the millennium mathematical problem. All mathematicians in the world have not been able to solve it successfully for decades. According to the rules set by the Clay Mathematics Institute, as long as the solution to any conjecture is published in a mathematical journal and goes through a 2-year verification period, the solver will be awarded $1 million prize. There are a total of 7 problems. since they were announced in 2000. Only Owen and Russian mathematician Grigory Perelman had solved one in 2001 and 2003 respectively. Because of the 2-year verification period, Owen missed the 2002 Fields Medal. In 2006, Owen and Grigory were both nominated as winners of the 2006 Fields Medal. Owen chose to accept the award, but Grigory gave up the award and the $1 million Millennium Prize because of his eccentric personality. Now, there are 5 math problems left. Martin Louis asked Owen to prove 2 of them again, which is totally cheating. No matter how talented Owen is, he can't do it. Wow. So amazing. The poor student Penny could only shout 666. I remember Owen won a prize of $1 million US. It turned out to be this. By the way, I remember Sheldon's math is also very good. Sheldon, why didn't you solve the Millennium mathematical problem? Facing the deliberate teasing of the poor student Penny, Sheldon's mouth and eyes twitched at the same time, and he said sadly, I'm a theoretical physicist, not a mathematician. Okay. Penny was afraid that Sheldon would really cry, so she didn't dare to tease him anymore. Watch TV. On TV. Is this a live broadcast? Owen turned to look at the host and said in his face, if I want to respond to Dr. Louis in public as a scientist, the TV station will not delete or even block it, right? Ahem. The host smiled bitterly and said, Professor Lee, you are so humorous. How is this possible? Really? Owen said worriedly, but I'm worried. What if I figure out the answer and you insist on helping Dr. Lewis and cutting out the process of my answer so that Dr. Lewis' inspiration is stolen by me again, or even directly takes it for yourself? I will be in tears. That is impossible. The host looked unhappy. After all, Owen was slapping himself in the face. There is no way. It is better to be careful. Owen stood up and sighed. Why not find a new venue and let many media broadcast live together? Only then can I feel at ease. He was very upset that the New York TV station was so partial to Martin Lewis, so he naturally didn't mind slapping the other party in the face. When Owen walked out of the New York TV station, the many media that had not yet dispersed were already boiling. Compared with the New York TV station, which was in mourning, many media were surprised and happy. They cooperated with Owen and started the live broadcast again at the Hilton Hotel. This time, because every media outlet could broadcast live without waiting for the New York TV station to broadcast, the radiation was wider and attracted widespread attention from the scientific community. Although no one believed that Irving could solve the 2 millennium math problems in public, it did not prevent them from watching and eating melons. Moreover, if a miracle really happened, it would be a grand event in the scientific community. You know, these problems are all about basic mathematical theories. Once solved, they will have a huge boost to the development and application of mathematical theories. Mathematics is the foundation of all sciences. When mathematical theories have new breakthroughs, they will drive all the progress of physics, biology, chemistry and other sciences. Impossible. He is bluffing me. He must be bluffing me. Martin Louis was already in a dilemma. Sitting in the live broadcast room, facing the long guns and short guns, looking at the confident and calm Irving, he shouted wildly in his heart. But what if he really succeeds? He is a genius mathematician. It is impossible for him to make such a big noise for no reason without being sure. Oh my god, this abominable bastard. What on earth is he thinking? At this point, it is impossible to say that he has no regrets at all. Originally, he just wanted to antagonize Irving and throw some dirty water on him to vent his anger, but he never thought it would turn out like this. Haha. Irving glanced at Martin Lewis, who looked a little dazed, and sneered in his heart. You want to step on me to vent your anger? Ha, naive. Don't you see, if you have the ability? I'm a cheater. Not to mention 2 millennium math problems. As long as you give me time and let me accumulate enough existence points, I will solve all 100 millennium math problems for you. P.S. The extra chapter for the Helmsman should be out today. Please support with all subscriptions. Chapter 140. Please give him another dozen. Live broadcast site. A long row of blackboards are neatly placed there. What is he doing? Didn't you watch the live broadcast just now? He is going to solve 2 millennium mathematical problems on the spot. These blackboards are basic props for mathematicians to show off. No, to do calculations. Really? He wants to broadcast the problem-solving process live, and two at a time. Are the millennium mathematical problems so simple? Even if the top mathematicians have the solution ideas, it will take a long time to calculate, right? Of course. But the mental arithmetic ability of these top mathematicians is more terrifying than that of computers. So in theory, as long as the ideas are smooth and the body can withstand it, it is not impossible to calculate thousands of lines of problem-solving steps at once. Yes, such a wonderful and miraculous moment. Do you think any media would be unwilling to record it live? New York suburbs. Leonard's alma mater, Princeton University in New Jersey, is a leading institution in mathematics and a holy place for pretentious people. Well-known professors and doctors in the mathematics department, as well as students of the mathematics department and other students who are passionate about science, all drove to New York to watch this absurd, yet miraculous live broadcast up close. I have a feeling that today will be a day to witness a miracle. I have this feeling too. Professor Lee once visited our Princeton. Judging from his demeanor during the speech and his profound wisdom during private exchanges, he is very consistent with his status as a Fields Medal winner. Unless one is crazy, or is sure of winning, it is impossible to make such an obviously absurd promise in public, and Professor Lee is obviously not crazy. Martin Louis is probably dumbfounded. The things he said were obviously nonsense. He couldn't even produce a little reliable evidence at the beginning. Now that he sees that Professor Lee is surrounded by scandals, he wants to besiege Professor Lee. TSK. If Professor Lee really solves no, he only needs to solve one of the millennium mathematical problems. Martin Louis' face will probably be swollen. That's not necessarily true. Martin Louis is shameless enough to do such a thing. When the time comes, he will close the door and refuse to accept any interviews. Who can do anything to him? Compared to ordinary people, those who can further study mathematics are elites with very high IQs. White supremacists like Martin Lewis are very rare after all. In other words, most other people are rational enough. Even if they have this idea in their hearts, they will not show it in an extreme way like Martin Lewis. After all, in the scientific community, talent is still king, and everything depends on their scientific achievements. Those who are incompetent, but still make trouble are actually more despised. Speaking of rumors, do you believe it is true? It should be half true and half false. I don't believe that all the 12 golden hairpins of the eternal sphere are related to Professor Lee, but the possibility of one or two of them is very high. You are wrong. I believe that the rumor is true, and even that rumor is not enough to describe Professor Lee's wonderful private life. What do you mean? A good friend of mine, who is at the goddess level, once dated Professor Lee and praised Professor Lee as the most perfect lover in the world after Professor Lee left. My good friend didn't know the taste of meat for 3 months. Puff. Don't know the taste of meat for 3 months. Why? Because I didn't feel anything, and I kept after tasting Professor Lee's powerful aura. It is said that people on the other side know Kung Fu. Can Kung Fu be practiced to that level? TSK. You are right. Because of curiosity, I specially collected relevant information. As far as I know, there is an iron crotch skill in the other side's Kung Fu, which is very suitable for Professor Lee's situation. Iron crotch skill? I also want to learn it, if I have a chance. It's normal for scientists to be romantic. Einstein, Hawking, Fermi, Feynman, and even Marie Curie. Which one of them is not romantic? Why are you targeting Professor Lee so much? It's all racial discrimination. Ahem. It's almost time. Let's not talk about it. A Chinese student was speaking up for Owen and was about to denounce racial discrimination when he was interrupted by his companion because his companion was very rational and understood a truth. It is destined to be discriminated against in other people's territory. When the other side was strong and all nations came to pay tribute, didn't they also look down on other races? Live broadcast. Drive Lewis. Let me confirm again. This time, for the remaining 5 millennium math problems, you don't have a sudden burst of inspiration, right? Owen slapped Martin Lewis again. Ha ha ha. At this time, there were already people watching the scene. Except for the reporters, most of them were professors and students who came specially. When they heard Owen's ridicule, they all smiled knowingly. No, there is Facing the gaze of the crowd, Martin Lewis gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, in that case, let's get started." Owen looked around at everyone and announced with a smile, "Please keep quiet." After that, he turned around, walked to the blackboard, picked up the chalk, immersed his mind in consciousness, and communicated with the American TV system. Turn on the academic master mode. Deep learning. Inspiration bonus. Yes, master. The American TV system agreed, and the existence points on the system panel began to jump slowly. 134, 133.9, 133.8. Bang. Owen's mind seemed to have experienced a big explosion. Billions of neurons jumped happily, and countless information streams related to the remaining 5 millennium problems flashed, intersected, and merged. Neurons that were more complex than supercomputers were running rapidly, forming a state that was almost supersensory. Many data that were so complex that supercomputers would take a long time to calculate under the supersensory senses at this moment instantly got an extremely accurate answer. He's moving. Everyone was shocked and stared at Owen's movements. Owen waved his arm and lines of mathematical formulas appeared quickly and clearly on the blackboard. After a while, one blackboard was filled up, and then Owen did not stop and filled up the remaining blackboards. "Professor, what did Professor Lee write?" The formula was too complicated. Not to mention the reporters who were watching. Even those high IQ mathematics students began to feel dizzy after reading it for a while. They couldn't even figure out which difficult mathematical problem Owen was solving. He is solving the Swinton conjectures. My god, he has abandoned all the efforts made by all mathematicians around the Swinton conjectures before, and opened up a new and unprecedented new idea. His idea is really genius, but can he succeed? The mathematics professors at Princeton University stared at Owen's movements in shock. With their intelligence and knowledge, they could not judge whether every step of Owen was correct, because that would require the cooperation of supercomputers to calculate the results before they could know. But they wisely gave up the entanglement of the calculation results, assuming that Owen's calculations were all correct, and focused their attention on Owen's ideas. This time, they felt relieved, but more shocked, because they found that, if the calculation steps were correct, then Owen's ideas were completely correct. Can romanticism really inspire the inspiration of a great scientist? An old mathematics professor who was familiar with Owen murmured absent-mindedly, "If so, please give Professor Lee another dozen." Compared with the rapid progress of science and the great contribution to human society, the romanticism of great scientists is completely reasonable and elegant. P.S. Thanks to the incarnation of the devil for the reward. Chapter 141 The Savior and Iron Man. Live broadcast. Time flies. Blackboards are filled with mathematical formulas, then erased and filled again, repeating the cycle. The reporters responsible for the live broadcast began to find colleagues to take over. Most of the students who were watching dispersed. After all, they couldn't understand it if they stayed. Except for a few people who wanted to witness the miracle moment. Only the professors and doctors obsessed with mathematics were still staring at Owen's movements. It's over. After writing the final conclusion on the blackboard, Owen threw away the chalk, exhaled lightly, turned and looked at Martin Lewis, who was pale. "Drive, Lewis. Are you convinced?" "No. Before Martin Lewis could reply, an excited shout came from the side. Owen looked at it in surprise, but it was an old mathematics professor he knew. "Professor Wilson? I don't accept it." Professor Wilson said with burning eyes, "Unless Owen, you can solve another millennium math problem, I won't accept it." Yes. Others also reacted. This is the moment to witness a scientific miracle. Of course, Owen, who created a miracle, cannot be let go. If you say two, you must say two. How can you be lazy? I don't accept it either. Professor Lee, you can take a break, but if you want us to be convinced, you must solve another millennium math problem. Yes, I heard that. When Professor Lee thinks about mathematical truths, he needs enough inspiration. We can find a dozen inspirations for you, Professor Lee, as long as you continue to deduce mathematical truths. A group of mathematicians echoed with wonderful ideas. The reporters watching looked at each other, hesitating in their hearts. Did I hear it wrong? These scientists actually said in public that they want to help Owen Lee find inspiration. Okay, no problem. But let's order food together first, and then we'll continue. Owen came to slap his face this time, so he naturally had to be perfect, fighting to the death. Otherwise, he could completely avoid talking about it and let Martin Louis provoke him. After all, Martin Louis can only attack Owen in public opinion, and it is unlikely that he wants to cause trouble for Owen in the scientific community. But in that case, it would be too cowardly. Others can admit their cowardice and wait for the storm to subside, but he can't. He is the protagonist with a system plugin. Waiter, prepare lunch for everyone present. I'll treat everyone. Owen ordered generously. Today, everyone present was Owen's background for pretending to be cool. Owen, who was worth billions, naturally didn't hesitate to treat everyone to a meal. Even if it was the villain Martin Lewis, Owen didn't mind treating him to a good meal, provided that the other party was in the mood. In the high-end restaurant, attached to the Hilton Hotel. Oh, my god. Did I hear it right before? Professor Lee is treating us to this meal? It seems so. How about we ask again? Jesus Christ. I think so too. If we heard it wrong, I can't bear to eat like this. Me too. This is too extravagant. This meal alone would cost at least a few $100s per person, right? You're understating it. Look at the wine. On average, it must be thousands of dollars per person. His thousands of dollars? There are more than 100 of us here. Wouldn't this meal cost more than $100,000? When did mathematicians become so rich? Mathematicians may not be so rich, but top mathematicians make a lot of money. You may not know that in addition to being a mathematician, Professor Lee is also a self-made billionaire. $100,000 to treat us to a simple meal is not worth mentioning. Billionaire? Are you sure? Of course I'm sure. This is a hot news that someone dug up during the live broadcast yesterday. It has spread all over America. Don't you know? I haven't changed shifts, so I really don't know. But billionaire? I really can't tell. That's normal. Technology billionaires are not like business billionaires. Most of them are very down to earth. If no one reminds them, no one will know that they are actually billionaires. How did he make so much money? I heard that he made it on Wall Street. You may not know that the top mathematicians have always been the objects of competition among financial institutions on Wall Street. Hey, people are really different. These geniuses with amazing talents make money too easily. No more talking, hurry up and eat. Such a luxurious meal. Where can you get it normally? After this big meal, everyone's attitude towards Owen changed. Before, they had some malice towards him, but now, they have selectively forgotten Owen's skin color. In America, there are only two kinds of people. One is rich and the other is poor. Poor people are not qualified to have malice towards rich people. Okay, let's continue. Owen glanced at the pale Martin Lewis and smiled. After consuming 120 existence points, Owen finally exited his academic master mode, threw away the chalk, clapped his hands, and said with a smile, "Drive Lewis, are you convinced now?" Pa. I'm convinced. I'm convinced. We're all convinced. Still, without waiting for Martin Lewis's response, the mathematics professors and doctors who were watching all applauded and shouted. Although the calculation results still need to be verified, and the specific analysis process also needs to be questioned by mathematicians all over the world, only when no one raises objections can Owen's solution be declared correct and valid. But at this moment, they are surprisingly confident in Owen. This must be correct. This scene was broadcast live by various media, causing a great sensation. Everyone can tell the truth from Martin Lewis' pale and desperate look. It's not that he is not strong, but that Owen's actions have a huge impact on a genius scientist like him. The scene of many scientists applauding Owen together also made ordinary people understand that Owen is really a great scientist. Coupled with the intervention of official forces, the public opinion storm of all people's crusade against Owen suddenly dissipated. When Owen returned to Pasadena, he had already received a call from the president of the University of Chicago, and the University of Chicago fired the infamous Martin Lewis. What awaits Martin Lewis is the end of his career. He may only be able to go to a public high school and teach math. If he is unlucky, he may even encounter a midlife crisis. However, he is not a chemistry major, so Owen has no need to worry. The University of Chicago is proud of having such an outstanding alumnus as Owen, and once again warmly invites Owen to return to his alma mater to coach, but Owen refuses. TBBT apartment. Room 4A. The angel told us, "Here is the savior." Owen was stopped by Sheldon as soon as he entered the room. Sheldon looked at Owen strangely, waving his hands in front of Owen's eyes. "You must be able to see the matrix, right?" "Thank you." Owen laughed dumbly. He completely shocked Sheldon this time and enjoyed the treatment of Kim, the genius boy in the great universe North Country. "But I can't see it. Although you are not the savior, you are simply the real version of Iron Man," Howard exclaimed. "Very rich, a genius in technology, and a romantic man that makes countless people envious. This is the perfect template for Iron Man. Got. I actually have a billionaire friend." Even though she knew that Owen was not interested in her, Penny still smiled coquettishly. After Owen's live broadcast ended, Owen directly topped the list of the world's diamond bachelors, and his attractiveness to women automatically increased by plus 1000%. P.S. Thanks to KK7444, Gluttonous Reader, and Quail Bird for their awards. Chapter 142 Assistant Candidate. Call Tech. Faculty Cafeteria. Clap, clap, clap. As soon as Owen and Sheldon walked into the cafeteria with their plates, they saw their colleagues coming to eat, salute and applaud. "Thank you, thank you." This is a tradition in the scientific community. Just like when John Nash finally entered the cafeteria in A Beautiful Mind, all the scientific colleagues came forward and placed their pens on John Nash's desk. This is a deep recognition. "Oh, when can I get this treatment?" Leonard said with envy. "You will never have it." Sheldon always stabbed him in the back. "Thanks for the reminder." Leonard gritted his teeth. "You're welcome." Sheldon smiled back. "There will be a chance, Leonard," Owen said very confidently. "Really?" Leonard grinned and said unconfidently. "How is it possible?" Sheldon was surprised. "Leonard is just an experimental physicist. He just... By the way, Leonard, what do you do every day? We have worked and lived together for 6 years, and you don't even know what I do." Leonard said speechlessly. "I've heard you talk about it before, but since it's not original work, I never really listened." Sheldon pouted. Ouch. Howard covered his chest and laughed funny. "Owen, do you really think I can do it?" Leonard stared at Sheldon for a while and saw that he looked back with bulging eyes and didn't think there was anything wrong with him. He twitched his mouth, turned his head, and didn't bother to pay attention to Sheldon. Of course, Owen was very sure. Although he didn't remember Leonard having any outstanding scientific achievements, as a housewife killer, Leonard sacrificed his small self to complete his big self, and brought a large amount of sponsorship for the Department of Physics to purchase a new centrifuge. When Leonard, pale and weak in the legs, walked into the restaurant, the scene of everyone applauding under the leadership of the dean of the department was still deeply ingrained in Owen's mind. This was also the first time that Sheldon encouraged and even took the initiative to help Leonard coitus, and enthusiastically praised this behavior as Leonard's greatest contribution to physics in his lifetime. "Hey, guys, idiots. Hey, Leslie, X4. Hey, you IQ deficient person." Sheldon glared at Leslie Winkle with bulging eyes and gritted his teeth. Leslie Winkle shrugged. Normally, she would definitely tease Sheldon, but this time her target was Owen. "Hey, Owen, congratulations on solving 2 millennium math problems again. I have to say that you are very handsome on the live broadcast. Listen, I have a good suggestion. I heard that when you delve into science, you like to collect inspiration, and so do I. So I thought we could try to cooperate and see if we can collide with new sparks. You are a man, and the specific experimental steps are all arranged by you. What do you say?" Poof. Leonard sprayed the drink in his mouth on the spot. He was very familiar with this kind of experiment. When he wanted to date Leslie, Leslie also treated the date as an experiment. At that time, he did not have the treatment of letting him arrange the experimental steps. After Leslie arranged everything, he only left the details to him. "Thank you, but no thanks." Owen's mouth twitched, and he refused decisively. He naturally understood what Leslie meant. For Leonard, Howard, and Rajesh, Leslie might be hot, but she was definitely not Owen's cup of tea. Okay. Leslie had a very high IQ and naturally understood what Owen meant. He shrugged and said, but whenever you have an idea, you are welcome to come to me at any time. What about me? Howard's eyes flickered, and he had been holding it back. When Leslie turned around to leave, he finally couldn't help but say it. What? Everyone looked over in unison. I mean, Howard met Leonard's inquiring eyes and covered his face. I want to ask Leslie, how is my application for the high-speed prototype? Oh. Leslie saw Howard winking at her, and then she remembered that she had just used Howard, and smiled and said, I've done it for you. Thank you. A smile appeared on Howard's face. You're welcome. It's just mutual help and mutual benefit. Meow. Leslie made a scratching motion with his hands and left after making a very ambiguous cat sound. What does this mean? Good friend Rajesh saw the trick at a glance and said meaningfully, I guess Howard must have done experiments with Leslie. Owen hit the nail on the head. Really? Leonard crossed his arms and stared at Howard. I know you and Leslie had a past. I don't mind. Okay, actually I've been wanting to say it for a long time. It happened twice in the Easter egg house. Howard shouted excitedly. Buddy, you betrayed the Brotherhood. Owen reminded. Leonard said he didn't mind. Howard forced an explanation, and in Owen's half-smiled eyes, he lowered his head and muttered, I can't care so much. Leslie is the 5th girl who had sex with me. Of course, I said it was free. I hope you don't mind. Owen shrugged. According to the 4 irons of life, the relationship between the 3 can be said to be true. Howard and Rajesh were captured by the 200-pound Sailor Moon. Leonard and Howard have both done experiments with Leslie Winkle. Rajesh will have a night with Leonard's true love Penny in the future. Although he is the Flash, it's still a night of fooling around. So you are here, Professor Lee. At this time, a middle-aged white man in a suit came over. Drive Smith. Drive Smith. Drive Hofstadter. Drive Smith. Mr. Wonowitz. Another greeting that made Howard angry. Professor Lee, why don't you go to the Dean's canteen? Dr. Smith is the head of the Department of Mathematics. Seeing Owen staying in the faculty canteen, he said in surprise, the food there is fresher. No, I like to eat with my friends. Owen declined. Okay. Dr. Smith didn't say much. Scientists are all eccentric. There is no need to force it. Moreover, he knew that Owen was a billionaire and would not care about the Dean's canteen. Here is the list of candidates for your new assistant. Dr. Smith handed a booklet to Owen and said with a meaningful smile, Professor Lee can choose anyone, and the school will make the arrangements. Okay, thank you. Owen took the booklet and smiled. The list of assistant candidates. Leonard and the other 2 were extremely envious, and when Owen opened the list, they were even more stunned. P.S. Thanks to the book friend 170,121,142,507,980 for the reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 Photography Enthusiasts. California Institute of Technology. Faculty and Staff Dining Hall. Wow. Leonard stood there for a while and exclaimed, is this a list of assistant candidates? Of course not. Howard wiped his saliva and said, this is basically a beauty pageant for His Majesty the King's harem. Look at the beauties here. Female life assistants, female graduate students, pretty nurses, and female administrative teachers. This is much better than the treatment Oxford University gives to Professor Hawking. Damn. Rajesh complained enviously when I found out that Bollywood star, 2008 NQ Sub-17 Planet, was selected as one of the top 30 under 30 by People magazine. The school only assigned me a male assistant. Speaking of this, Sheldon never cared about these things. When he heard Rajesh talking about the last time, he looked up at Rajesh and asked in confusion, you and Owen are both Asians. Why do you have completely different reactions after achieving success? Owen is very calm, with almost no changes, but you are like a complacent clown, and we're almost removed from our friend list. How weird. Really weird. Yeah. Why, Rajesh? Leonard and Howard recalled Rajesh's ugly appearance after he succeeded, and they still teased him with some displeasure. Okay. Rajesh raised his hand to apologize. I'm sorry, I was too excited at that time. You also know that I was just a silly boy from New Delhi. I overcame poverty and discrimination and came to America from afar to pursue my dream. When the dream came true, it was inevitable that I was a little excited. Poverty? Howard sneered. Your father is a gynecologist, and he drives a Bentley. It was rented. Rajesh defended himself, and seeing that everyone was still looking at him, he had to say with a bitter face, okay, I admit that I was a jerk at that time, but I promise that I will never do it again, okay? Just you know. Leonard snorted unhappily. He had been persuading Sheldon and Howard not to care about Rajesh's success, but he didn't expect Rajesh to slap him in the face. Not only did he ask Penny out, he also mocked Leonard. I got Penny out. I don't understand why it took you a year and a half. Just treat us as VIPs next time instead of P. Howard mocked. Rajesh lowered his head in shame. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Leonard was a good guy. Seeing that Rajesh was about to lose face, he quickly interrupted and said, Owen, which one do you choose? Pretty nurse. Howard suggested obscenely, it must be the pretty nurse. They are very good at taking care of people. Professor Hawking likes them very much. If you ask me, I'd better choose from these female administrative teachers. Leonard said, they are not only beautiful, but also have a very charming mature feminine charm. Owen couldn't help but look at Leonard, and inexplicably thought of Leonard's mother, Dr. Beverly Hofstadter. Leonard really lacks maternal love. Let's choose her. Owen looked through the list of assistant candidates. His eyes flashed, and he pointed to one of them and said, it must be said that Caltech must have made a lot of effort to win over the increasingly valuable Owen. With Owen's lazy look at the flowers, he had to nod and admire the above candidates. Alyssa Page, life assistant. Leonard looked at her and couldn't help but exclaimed, wow. So beautiful. This one is indeed the most beautiful. Howard nodded and said, but her body is not hot enough. I still like this hot nurse. If you like it, just apply. Owen joked, but I still choose her. Howard was stunned, thinking that no matter who he chose, it had nothing to do with him. The excitement of the beauty pageant just now dissipated immediately. Even Sheldon didn't have this treatment. How could he have it? Owen, you really love appearance. Leonard looked back and forth at the list of candidates again, and found that Alyssa Page's appearance was definitely the best among them. The reason why he didn't notice it just now was because whether it was a nurse or a female teacher, they all wore uniforms, which had a bonus and attracted their attention more. Haha. Owen laughed and thought to himself, it seems that I'm really famous this time. Even this person shows up in this way. But it doesn't matter. This is the positive universe after all. There will be no danger no matter what. I'm afraid it's just routine. I just need to cooperate and do what I should do. Look, isn't that the guy who won the MacArthur Genius Award last year? Howard reminded. He's coming. Sorry to bother you. Are you Leonard Hofstadter? Yeah. I'm David Underhill. A tall, handsome white guy came over and greeted Leonard. Drive Gabler Horse said that, if I need to do an experiment in the photomultiplier laboratory, can you help me? You want to do an experiment with me? Leonard was flattered. The tall and handsome guy in front of him is a well-known genius physicist in the scientific community. Even Sheldon recognizes him. You can imagine his strength. Of course, if you have time. David paused here, but noticed Owen. Are you Professor Owen Lee? I have watched your live broadcast. I have to say that you are really a genius. I admire you very much. Hello. Owen smiled. Are you friends with Dr. Hofstadter? David asked very enthusiastically. Yes. Owen glanced at Leonard, who looked proud, and said affirmatively, we are all best friends. Wow. David glanced at everyone, and smiled at Leonard. You are so lucky. Yeah, Leonard, Howard, and Rajesh all raised their heads and chests when they heard it, and were quite proud. Contact me then. David chatted for a while, exchanged phone numbers, and turned to leave. TBBT apartment. Room 4A. Where is Leonard? Howard asked curiously. I don't know either. Sheldon applied hand cream to his hands while staring at the bowling game on TV, looking ready for battle. Compared to going downstairs to the real bowling alley, they prefer the video game version. Hey, guys. At this time, Leonard pushed open the door and walked in with high spirits. Where did you go? Howard said dissatisfiedly. I went to David's place to play. Leonard said happily. You don't know. In fact, he is really cool. In addition to being a genius scientist, he is also a black diamond skiing expert, collects vintage motorcycles, and he plays in a rock band. Unlike us, we can only play the video game version in the Xbox. He is also a photography enthusiast. Owen smiled. Photography enthusiast? Leonard was stunned. Really? I didn't know that. How did you know? Intuition. Owen's mouth curled up, because I'm also a photography enthusiast. Chapter 144. Lush greenery. Call Tech. Faculty cafeteria. Look, that's Penny. Wow, Leonard, your good friend David is really charming. No, it should be that. Since Leonard met Penny, he has become more and more charming, and it is much easier to make new friends. Shut up. Listening to Rajesh and Howard teasing him in unison, Leonard couldn't help but shout, glancing at Penny who was flirting and smiling exaggeratedly. A hint of sadness flashed in his eyes. Hi, guys. Penny and David walked over side by side and greeted everyone. Hi. Owen and the others looked at Leonard. Leonard's mouth twitched. He tried to hold it back, but still couldn't help saying, wow, Penny, I didn't expect you to come to our school. How surprising. What's so surprising about that? Penny waved and smiled. I've always been very interested in college. Really? Leonard forced a smile. I remember that in the past year and a half, I have invited you to visit the school many times, and every time you said you wanted to do yoga. Penny laughed dryly. You must have heard it wrong. Okay. Leonard couldn't bear to see the goddess embarrassed. Although he was unhappy, he still tried to smooth things over. The word yoga is indeed very common and easy to mishear. David, aren't you going to take me around the campus? Penny also felt that the atmosphere was wrong and changed the subject. Can I ride your motorcycle? Of course. David patted Leonard on the shoulder and joked, can you be worse than Leonard? Leonard only felt that his leg that had been crushed by the motorcycle hurt even more. How embarrassing. After Penny and David left in a playful manner, Howard grinned at Leonard's gaze chasing after them. Indeed. Rajesh agreed. It's nothing. Leonard wanted to save face in front of his friends. I have nothing to do with Penny. You wanted to have a relationship, but Penny disagreed. Sheldon always stabbed him in the back. Thanks for the reminder. Leonard paused, stared at Sheldon, and gritted his teeth. You're welcome. Sheldon smiled cutely in return. Owen, do you think they are serious? Leonard was worried and consulted an authority. Don't worry. Owen smiled and said, David has such a high IQ. According to Western aesthetics, he is also very tall and handsome. He must have no shortage of female companions. If it were you, would you really do it with Penny? Of course not. Before Leonard could speak, Howard said, if I had such good conditions, I would definitely be the bride and groom every night. Now I can finally imagine your daily life, Owen. No, you still can't imagine it. Owen patted Howard, who was full of longing, and said something meaningful that broke Howard's heart. Woo woo woo. Oh poor Rajesh, what's wrong with you? Professor Owen Lee. Just when Rajesh's eyes widened, his voice was hoarse, and he couldn't speak, and he could only sob. A moving voice rang in everyone's ears. Everyone turned their heads and looked in the direction of the voice and saw a woman in a women's suit standing there. She was tall, with delicate features. When she smiled, she showed a pair of alluring dimples. She was so beautiful that it was no wonder that Rajesh kept sobbing. Alyssa Page, your assistant. Owen Lee. Owen stood up and shook hands with her. Except for not taking out the FBI agent ID. This Alyssa Page was indeed the federal agent who would review Howard's information in the future. However, with Owen's intelligence, he understood the reason after a little thought. It was fun to show off and get slapped in the face, but there were still some sequelae. Solving the Millennium Math problem live, 2 at a time, showed his super intelligence, which not only defeated Martin Lewis, but also shocked the scientific community and officials. Although it is far from certain whether Owen's proof is correct, the formula results involved in the supercomputer verification steps are exactly the same. This is enough to shock the world, and it is not surprising that the public opinion storm has attracted official attention. Alyssa Page was originally responsible for the information verification and review of the scientific community. Considering Owen's special situation, it is reasonable for her to be sent to observe Owen closely. In fact, there are several people with the same identity in the list of assistant candidates. Even if Owen does not choose Alyssa Page, the final result will not change. This is the positive universe. Owen is not worried about security issues. The other party is just observing and winning over. There is no need to point it out. Owen is even secretly happy that they sent Alyssa Page. Is there anything I can do? Alyssa Page asked professionally. Owen really couldn't think of what to ask her to do for a while. At least it's not easy to tell her what to do now. You take a rest first. I'll let you know if there's anything. Okay, let me know if there's anything. Okay. Got. She's even prettier in person than in the photo. I swear this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. After Alyssa left, Rajesh shouted excitedly. Owen, why don't you let her do anything? Howard laughed obscenely. Don't smile so obscenely. Owen said seriously. She and I are just purely working people. TSK. Howard sneered. Don't joke. It's normal for universities to assign assistants to top scientists, but the process of selecting an assistant for you is definitely not normal. This is clearly an upgraded version of Oxford University selecting nurses for Professor Hawking. A life assistant is, of course, responsible for taking care of all your life needs. Yes. Rajesh echoed enviously. Otherwise, why not assign you a male assistant, but such a beautiful female assistant? Is it just to please you? At this point, Rajesh burst into tears. When the university assigned him a male assistant, he was very proud and arrogant. He sighed in front of everyone that he couldn't imagine what life would be like without an assistant. In fact, that assistant had just been on the job for an afternoon. Now compared with Owen, it's ridiculous. Senior apartment for faculty and staff of Caltech. John, don't get excited. Listen to me. This is just a routine undercover mission. Alyssa Page explained helplessly to her boyfriend, who looked angry and seemed to be transformed into the Hulk in the video. Bullshit. The boyfriend of the Marine Corps member said angrily, going undercover next to a world famous playboy. What is your superior planning? Don't tell me you don't know. Alyssa was speechless. As a federal agent, how could she not know? Chapter 145 Deep Malice. TBBT apartment. Room 4A. Oh, poor Leonard, Howard joked as he looked at Leonard lying on the sofa like a dead dog. Don't tease him. Penny might be doing an experiment with David now. Rajesh said seriously, then changed the subject and said with a suppressed laugh, didn't David say that he wanted to see what chemical reaction tequila would have on Penny, a 22-year-old beauty? That's enough. Owen complained. Compared to the two of you, Leonard is already at a cosmic level. At least he still has Penny to be sad about. What about you? Oh, Howard and Rajesh looked at each other and then cried out in unison. Leonard, the situation may not be as bad as you think. Since you can't figure it out, go and ask him in person. Maybe there will be a surprise? Owen reminded. Really? Leonard raised his head and said weakly, but what if we run into them? That doesn't matter. Owen raised his lips. At least you can spoil their fun for once. That's true. Leonard was shocked, stood up and walked out of the room with his head held high. After a while, he came back in high spirits. I really can't believe it. David is so stupid. What happened? Howard was puzzled. When he was taking art photos for Penny, he forgot to delete the art photos of his wife on his phone. Penny found out, and they broke up completely. Leonard smiled like a flower, green and full of vitality. Art photos? Howard stood up suddenly. What art photos? Where are they? Leonard's mouth twitched, and he stared at Howard with disgust. Howard shrugged, walked out, took out his cell phone and dialed the number. Hi, David, I'm Howard. Listen, I'm also a photography enthusiast. Wait for me. Rajesh chased after his good friend. Very happy. Owen looked at Leonard, whose mouth kept rising, and grinned. Of course. Leonard smiled proudly. Penny said that I'm much smarter than David, and he is an idiot. He can make such low-level mistakes. Are you sure? Owen was defeated by Leonard's green and healthy smile. Leonard didn't care about Penny taking art photos at all. No wonder so many photography enthusiasts like to run to the West after they can't stay in the East. It's really that the greening work of Western countries such as America is well done. In the dense forest, everyone is green. Who will notice who? What do you mean? Leonard was stunned by Owen's words. Haha, you are too naive. Owen analyzed. In my opinion, David deserves to be the winner of the MacArthur Genius Award. You see, he and Penny have already done the experiment and have reached a conclusion. His main job is not this experiment, so it is impossible for him to spend all his time on Penny. But after all, he has just done the experiment. It would be too unkind to abandon Penny, the enthusiastic experimental collaborator. So what is the best way? Let Penny accidentally find out that he has a wife, and then angrily take the initiative to break up. Leonard murmured. Ha. Sheldon on the side said in surprise, you can actually do this? Smart. Leonard smiled reluctantly this time. After listening to Owen's analysis, he felt the deep malice of the real world and felt bad. Ding-ling-ling. So Leonard picked up the phone and looked at it. His face became worse. I'm really busy. Can it be postponed so that I have time to prepare? You know I'm afraid that it can't be postponed until next year. Okay, bye. Drive Hofstad tour is coming. Owen couldn't help laughing. How do you know? Leonard shouted with a tangled and annoyed face. Got. Let the malice of this world be more intense. Are you sure? Sheldon asked seriously. It was the first time he saw someone make such a wish. I'm kidding. Leonard and Sheldon looked at each other and thought of Sheldon's weirdness and shuddered all over, fearing that the other party would really do something that would make him annoyed, so he quickly put away the flag. Sheldon shrugged and gave up thinking. The next day. It's almost there. It's almost there. Leonard walked around the room, looking at the time from time to time, muttering to himself, oolong tea, let's, not tea bags, steep for 3 minutes, 2% milk, heated separately, a spoonful of sugar, raw sugar. What's wrong with him? Howard was puzzled. His mother is coming. Owen smiled. I know. Howard pouted and said, but why is he mumbling to her? If you don't know, you might think the second Sheldon is here. Usually, Leonard buys meals and makes tea for Sheldon in the same rhythm, but it's a question and answer session. Every request made by Sheldon must be completed by Leonard. Howard and the others were numbed when they saw it. Although it's not my taste, it's very tasteful at first glance. I like it. Sheldon tilted his head and thought about it, and rarely gave a thumbs up. Haha, I promise you will like her very much. Owen smiled meaningfully. Don't you think so, Leonard? I agree 100%. Leonard exclaimed. It's almost time. I'm going to make tea. Leonard calculated the time and began to make tea strictly according to his mother's preferences. Let's wait a while. Owen reminded, if you make it now, even if all the steps are correct, what if she comes a few minutes late and the tea is cold? What do you think she will say? Yes, yes. Leonard slapped his head and shouted, damn it, I almost forgot this. Do you have to be so cautious? Howard complained. It's your mother who is coming, not to greet some beautiful woman. Do you have to be so cautious? Come on. Leonard, you are an adult. Really? Leonard pouted and said, as a person who still lives with his mother, do you really have the nerve to say that to me? Bang bang bang. Is it coming? Is it coming? Leonard rushed over and opened the door. Your mother is here, Penny said crying, and went back to the room with the laundry basket. Leonard was not surprised, knowing that Penny had probably talked to his mother. If you want to coitus with this girl, just find out what kind of cologne her father uses. Beverly Hofstad raised her glasses and concluded seriously. Mom, your tea. Oolong tea. Yes. Loose, not tea bags. Yes. With Owen's reminder, everything is perfect, but Beverly's title of female Sheldon is not given for nothing. She can always find the problem. Why are you so slow? Sheldon nodded repeatedly beside him, with an expression that he was deeply hurt. Leonard froze there, with a look of despair on his face. P.S. There will be one more chapter at 2000 hours in the evening. For every 200 increase in average subscription, one more chapter will be added. Please subscribe. Chapter 146, Little White Mouse Crisis. TBBT apartment. Room 4A. I think he has a problem, too. Sheldon added, my theory is that he lacks concentration because of his excessive desire to applaud. Beverly tilted her head. I really don't know where he got it from. Besides the happy marriage between his father and I, we are both focused enough to applaud only for the birth of the next generation. This arrangement is really efficient. Sheldon praised. We think so too. Beverly shrugged. We have also published papers separately. My paper is written from the perspective of neuroscience, and his father's is from the perspective of anthropology. Of course, only my paper is worth reading. Of course. Sheldon nodded. I'm very interested in reading your applause record. I put it online. You can order it from Princeton University Press. Beverly said seriously. What a pity. The slides for my speech are stored in another notebook. Otherwise, I can show you. Oh, Sheldon looked regretful. Now I finally understand why Leonard can't tolerate Sheldon. Howard was stunned and murmured, this is simply the female version of Sheldon. Drive Hofstad to long time no see. Owen greeted with a smile. It's been a long time. Beverly raised her glasses. To be precise, it's been 14 years. I have to say that your achievements really amaze me. Maybe it was right to let you see Leonard back then. At least you learned a lesson from it, which led to your current achievements. This is also Leonard's only contribution. Thank you for the compliment. Leonard's mouth was almost cramped, and he smiled with frustration. You're welcome. Beverly accepted Leonard's compliment in a very Sheldon-like way, and then looked at Owen again. Can you do me a favor? What favor? Owen was stunned. Come with me to the hospital to scan your brain. Beverly said calmly, I'm very interested in your genius brain. I want to go too. Sheldon raised his hand and shouted. Of course. Beverly nodded and said, I've read your paper, and know that you also have a genius brain that is different from ordinary people. Howard and Rajesh couldn't help but roll their eyes, because when Beverly said different from ordinary people, her eyes were looking at them. Forget it, I won't go. Owen declined. He was not interested in being a guinea pig. In fact, except for the weird Sheldon, no one wanted to be a guinea pig. Why? Beverly was surprised and said, I thought you were an outstanding scientist and should be willing to contribute to science. I'm already contributing, right? Owen smiled. Beverly raised her glasses and said lightly, it's a pity that I can't be your Dr. Thomas Harvey. Owen's mouth twitched, and he was speechless. Leonard looked at him with an apologetic look. Oh, it's such a pity. Sheldon clapped his hands and said, in the early morning of April 18th, 1955, the 76-year-old Deanstein died in Princeton Hospital. His funeral was quickly carried out according to his wishes. Cremation, a private farewell ceremony, and the ashes were scattered in the Delaware River from somewhere. That night, Dr. Thomas Harvey, the chief pathologist of Princeton Hospital, performed an autopsy on Einstein. After everything was done, Harvey put the internal organs back into Einstein's empty abdominal cavity, and then filled the cranial cavity with cotton. He did not put the brain back, but took pictures of this 1,230-gram genius brain, measured it, and finally carefully cut it into 240 pieces. Each piece was numbered to indicate where it was located in the brain. The cut pieces were embedded in collodion, and then soaked in formalin for preservation. Yes, it's such a pity. Beverly shook her head and said, I didn't catch up with that good time. Thomas Harvey was just a pathologist, not a neurologist like me, so there was not much result after decades of tossing. Now the remaining brain has been strictly sealed, and it is almost impossible to get samples. MMP. Owen was a little uncomfortable, cursing in his heart. Just say it. Why are you looking at me with such a cold eye? I really think you can do a brain scan in advance. Beverly has the persistence of a scientist. Your brain may be comparable to Einstein's, and you will definitely not escape the end of being dissected in the end. We'll see when the time comes. Owen grinned, and his scalp was inexplicably numb. Okay. Beverly shrugged. If you figure it out, feel free to find me at any time. I'm very interested in your brain. I can see Owen smiled bitterly. Okay, Sheldon, are we going to the hospital now? Beverly looked at Sheldon. Yeah. Sheldon shouted happily. After the male and female evil left, Howard looked at Leonard sympathetically. I finally understand why you can become roommates and friends with Sheldon. You are a typical Stockholm syndrome. What? Leonard denied. I don't have Stockholm Syndrome. Are you sure? Rajesh asked with a strange look. Of course. Leonard wanted to deny it outright, but thinking back on his life, he had a mother like Beverly since he was a child, and he met Sheldon just after he graduated from college and started working. Was it really just a momentary impulse that he ignored all the obvious warnings and agreed to be Sheldon's roommate? Thinking of this, he couldn't say the words that were on his lips because he suddenly realized that in his subconscious, he might really see the shadow of his mother Beverly and Sheldon, so he wanted to get the missing recognition and warmth from Sheldon. That's why he endured Sheldon's various weird behaviors again and again, just to get Sheldon's recognition. How is this different from those victims who have a good impression of the criminals, become dependent on them, and even assist the perpetrators? Last year, he also took the initiative to help Sheldon kill Kim, a 15-year-old genius boy from the Northland whose IQ threatened Sheldon's universe. Oh my god. Leonard slumped on the sofa, covering his mouth, and said painfully, "What am I in her eyes? Is it just a toy, an experiment? It's not that exaggerated." Irving sat next to Leonard, patted him on the shoulder and comforted him. "You just have a slight tendency to be masochistic. It's no big deal. Who made you have such a mother? And for most people, what's the point of having a child if you don't use it to play?" Leonard and the other two were stunned, looking at Irving with such a strange look. "I'm kidding." Irving laughed and saw that the three of them breathed a sigh of relief, and he felt funny in his heart. "It's really unusual. P.S. Thanks to Kuangdeo 108 Lang, Kegwan01, Limi Wuojian 23 for the rewards. Chapter 147 Peggy's Diary. Pasadena. 2 o'clock in the morning. Even in cities that never sleep, such as New York and Beijing, most people, except for a few night owls, have already fallen asleep at this time. Knock, knock, knock. President Heber. Knock, knock, knock. President Heber. Knock, knock, knock. President Heber. A series of symbolic knocks on the door suddenly sounded. Oh, God. The president of Caltech was awakened from his sleep, turned on the bedside lamp, and walked downstairs in his pajamas amid his wife's complaining mutterings, and opened the door with sleepy eyes. "Drive, Cooper." Principal Heber looked up and saw Sheldon, the famous eccentric genius in the school. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Do you know what time it is now?" "Of course I know." Sheldon looked at Principal Heber in surprise and said seriously, "To 12 in the morning." Principal Heber paused and shouted angrily, "What I'm asking is that since you know it's past 2 in the morning, don't you know that it's time to go to bed? Can't you talk about it tomorrow at school?" "Of course not," Sheldon said confidently. "You sent me an email first, asking me to go to your office at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Everyone knows that I have breakfast at 8 o'clock and gastrointestinal exercises at 8:20. You didn't reply to my email, and I don't know your phone number. What time is it? Can't you let me sleep?" A sharp female voice came from upstairs. "Baby, don't be angry, Mike. Go out and talk. If you have something to say, don't disturb your daughter's sleep." Another female voice sounded. "I'll be there soon." Principal Heber replied with a headache, then raised his hands to Sheldon in surrender. Okay. You don't need to go to my office at 8 o'clock. You can go anytime you want. Please leave now." Still not working. Sheldon blocked Principal Heber's action of closing the door. "What's wrong?" Principal Heber's face was almost distorted. "You haven't told me what you want to talk to me about yet," Sheldon said seriously. "I'm like Heisenberg's particle now. I only know my location or speed, but I can't know both at the same time. I can't stand it. I can't sleep. This is killing me." Principal Heber wanted to strangle Sheldon to death, but after all, he was the head of a school, so he still had some scheming. He took a deep breath and quickly explained, "Remember the application you submitted to the National Science Foundation to explore slow magnetic monopolar particles in the Arctic? There is now a vacancy in the Arctic Expedition Team, and I approve your application. Are you saying that I can go to the Arctic for exploration?" Sheldon was stunned. "To be honest," Principal Heber mocked, "I can't wait to send you there tonight." "Thank you." Sheldon didn't understand the sarcasm and only accepted Principal Heber's enthusiasm. He tilted his head and said, "But I still need to think about it." After all, I chose theoretical physics because I can sit in the office all the time. Enough. Principal Heber shouted, "What do you want to end this conversation tonight? It's early morning now." Sheldon corrected, "Not at night. Woof woof woof. Ah. Help. Don't bite me." At this moment, Principal Heber's wife came downstairs angrily and patted her teddy dog. The teddy dog immediately barked and pounced on Sheldon. Sheldon was afraid of even chickens, let alone the invincible teddy dog. He screamed and ran away. "I should have done this earlier." Principal Heber called back the teddy dog and muttered, "Boom boom boom. Owen. Boom boom boom. Owen. Boom boom boom. Owen." "Sheldon, why are you here at this hour?" Owen opened the door and was surprised to see Sheldon's panicked face. "Principal Heber let the dog bite me," Sheldon said in fear. "Why?" Owen had just finished his work and entered the sage's dream. After being woken up, he was too lazy to think about it for a while. After letting Sheldon into the room, he lay on the sofa and asked casually, "He suddenly sent me an email last night." With his eyes closed, after listening to Sheldon's words, Owen suddenly realized that it was the Arctic Scientific Expedition incident. "Since you know what it is, why don't you go back to sleep and come to my place?" Owen frowned. "You have to drive me back," Sheldon said as a matter of course. "How did you get here?" Owen asked. "I came by taxi." Sheldon lowered his voice and looked scared, but the driver before always felt gloomy, so scary. The high-end faculty and staff apartment where Owen lived was not far from Principal Heber's villa, but it was still a distance away from the TBBT apartment, which took about 20 minutes to drive. "Okay." Owen stood up and said helplessly, "Wait for me first." With such a master, this kind of trouble is inevitable. Owen is now very glad for his original choice. According to the time he and Sheldon have known each other, he could have replaced Leonard and become Sheldon's roommate and best friend, but fortunately he didn't, otherwise he would really be annoyed. It was Leonard, who was used to being tormented by his mother, who had the patience to accommodate and tolerate Sheldon, a giant baby, for 365 days a year for 6 consecutive years. "Hurry up, I'm sleepy." Sheldon smiled cutely. Owen was speechless and walked into the bedroom. Looking at the figure sleeping on the bed, he raised the corner of his mouth, picked up the scattered clothes from the messy bedroom, changed them, and drove Sheldon back. Click. As the door was closed, the sleeping figure on the bed in the bedroom moved slightly, and the slightly curly golden long hair spread out, revealing a delicate and blushing face. It was Owen's life assistant, Alyssa Page. She was lying on her back on the bed, her eyes slightly absent-minded. After a while, she struggled to get up with her eyebrows slightly furrowed. She walked to the window and looked down through the curtains. She saw Owen's car driving out and heading towards the TBBT apartment. She breathed a sigh of relief, turned on her phone, and sighed softly at the more than 100 missed calls from her boyfriend. She was just a civilian agent. Normally, she didn't have to go out on field duty, let alone go undercover. But because she was too beautiful, she was picked out and included in Owen's assistant selection. Owen chose her all of a sudden. Now, her troubles came. She had a boyfriend who was a Navy SEAL who she had been in love with for several years. The two had always had a good relationship. She even had a premonition that her boyfriend was going to propose to her. Originally, she was lucky, thinking that as long as she was very professional, she could still withdraw calmly while completing the task. But as her boyfriend worried, how could she play undercover next to Playboy without paying a little price? She was still a little confused and didn't know what was going on, but she was sure that Owen didn't use any low-level tricks. If it wasn't Owen's fault, then it was her own problem. The target is gifted, has unlimited energy, has no obvious political inclinations, and is a relatively pure scientist. It is recommended to end the observation. Alyssa Page wrote this sentence and send it out through the secret communication channel. Received. It is recommended to reject it, continue to observe, and be prepared for long-term and in-depth observation. After a while, there was a reply. Shit. After reading it, Alyssa cursed and fell backwards with powerlessness. She had expected this result, but she didn't know where she and her boyfriend would go in the future. Chapter 148 Crossdresser. TBBT apartment. Stairs. Imagine if he agrees. Next summer, we can enjoy life without Sheldon for the whole summer. Howard excitedly described as he went upstairs. I can sit on the left side of the sofa. We can also go out to play more, Rajesh said with anticipation. I can go to the bathroom at 8:20. Leonard agreed with a smile on his face. Hearing the three people's humble dreams, Owen laughed unkindly. Owen, what are you laughing at? Howard asked. Don't say you don't like this kind of life. I'm fine. Owen smiled reservedly. Compared with Leonard and the other three, although Owen also hangs out with Sheldon most of the time, he still has a rich and wonderful spare time life. He understands the excitement of the three of them escaping from the clutches, but he knows the plot well, and knows that the three of them are just fantasies. Of course you are, Rajesh said enviously. If I were you, I wouldn't hang out with Sheldon every day. Yeah. Howard nodded in agreement. Instead of being tortured by Sheldon, I would rather be abused and suffocated by a cruel girl. Wait a minute, Leonard said unhappily. In your hearts, what is our friendship? Is it a forced choice when you are bored and helpless? Isn't it? Howard asked back. If you can only choose between a friend and a cruel girl, who would you choose? Leonard opened his mouth, but he couldn't say a word of rebuttal, because if he had to choose, he would of course choose the cruel girl without hesitation. Then what exactly is our friendship? Leonard was a little confused. It's very simple, Rajesh introduced vividly. If it were me, I would first send you greeting cards every holiday. After a few years, you would be as dead to me. This sounded like a joke, but it also contained something very realistic. That is, friendship and all other feelings need to be cultivated with time and care. Otherwise, no matter how deep and strong the feelings are, they will dissipate due to time and distance. This is why Owen has been bothering to hang out with Sheldon and the others. You can treat us as dead now. Leonard rolled his eyes and mocked. Guys, you are too entangled. Owen interrupted. You are not children. You naturally want all the choices you make. You don't think you will end up alone, right? That's hard to say, Rajesh muttered. He has selective mutism. He can't talk to women without drinking. It's impossible for him to say that he is not worried. Come on, Howard complained. Except for Owen, you have the most romantic encounters among us, and even if you can't talk to women, you can just find a deaf-mute woman, or even a cross-dressing man. Don't tell me that you didn't have any feelings for that cross-dressing man who cosplayed as a Green Orient woman and slave at the last anime convention. What? Leonard grinned. We just kissed, and that's it. Rajesh shouted. I'm not gay. Who told him to cosplay like that? I didn't even realize he was a man. We know. Owen joked. So last time Dr. Hofstadter said you and Howard were couples, didn't we clarify that for you among the crowd? Rajesh did have the most romantic encounters. He couldn't talk to women without drinking, but he was praised by drunk women as a good man who was the best listener. Rajesh is not picky about food. He and Howard were first captured by the 200-pound Sailor Moon, and then he was taken away by a woman of the same weight in the bar. After sobering up, he found that he could not break free from the other's strong and powerful arms, but he could curl up in the other's arms and continue to sleep with a smile. In addition to the incident of the cross-dressing man at the last anime exhibition, it can be said that, as long as the other party is a person, Rajesh will most likely not refuse. Creak. The door of room 4A was opened, revealing Sheldon's puzzled eyes. Why don't you come in? Without waiting for everyone to speak, Sheldon smiled and said, I have good news to tell you. I have temporarily accepted the invitation to go to the Arctic for scientific research. Yeah. X3. Leonard and the other two cheered. Owen looked at them sympathetically. But I formally propose that the four of you go with me. Sheldon looked around at everyone and said, what? X4. This time, Owen was not calm either. I need a team to assist me, and you four are my best choices. Sheldon explained. Ahem. Owen coughed lightly and interrupted. Sheldon, I don't need to go. They and you are both in the Department of Physics, and I'm just a mathematician. There is no point in going. Just kidding. If he remembered correctly, it would take 3 months to stay at the Arctic Research Station. Leonard and the other two were almost tortured by Sheldon, and began to plan various plans to torture and kill Sheldon. What's more, the heating was cut off one night. In order to maintain body temperature, the four could only huddle together for warmth. The scene was so beautiful that Owen dared not even imagine it, let alone join it. You are useful, Sheldon said loudly. Compared to the three of them, you are the most useful. Thank you. Owen smiled bitterly, but the most important thing for this scientific research is experimental observation, which is your and Leonard's specialty. Howard can be responsible for the equipment, and Rajesh can assist you in observing celestial phenomena. In mathematics, you are actually very good. I know. Sheldon nodded, but we are still missing a piece of muscle. You are our muscle. When a 1,500 pound polar bear pounces on us, I hope you can use the other side of the shore to support us and protect us. That's right. I agree. Let's go together. Leonard and the other two echoed. Muscle bodyguard Owen's mouth twitched, and he glanced at everyone speechlessly. He was a Fields Medal winner and the solver of 3 millennium mathematical problems. Who would have thought that in Sheldon's eyes, he was actually a muscle bodyguard? Think about it, and give me the answer later. Sheldon walked towards the bedroom. You're not really going, are you? Howard saw that everyone was thinking deeply, and lost his composure. Just a reminder, I haven't entered the bedroom yet, and I can still hear it. Sheldon's voice came. Damn Vulcan hearing. Howard muttered, and after hearing the door close, he repeated the question. Leonard and Rajesh tended to agree, because they would be honored if the scientific research was successful, and Owen thought about it again and again, and chose to agree. How do friends improve their friendship? It is accumulated step by step in normal times, plus the catalysis of certain critical moments. If Leonard and the other four go to the Arctic expedition this time, and Owen chooses not to go, wouldn't he isolate himself from the group? It's just 3 months. Owen, who had the internet in his previous life, and could stay at home for a year, said that this was nothing. As for the unbearable heating night, it can be avoided, as long as you have the heart and money. Well, gentlemen, what is your choice? I join. X3. Howard? Okay, I join too. Under everyone's gaze, Howard reluctantly agreed. P.S. Thank you for the reward from Harry. The second update in the evening will be advanced to 1900 hours. Please subscribe and try not to skip it. Chapter 149, Life and Death. TBBT apartment. Room 4A. Guys, what are your plans for this weekend? Irving asked with a smile during dinner. Easter egg shooting. Howard raised his head and said with a lewd smile, of course, if Leslie finds me too hot and can't help but shoot 2 shots, then I can only ask you to leave the Easter egg room first, because someone is going to be happy. Shut up. Howard. Leonard shouted in a bit of dissatisfaction. It's not that he cares about having a good time with Leslie in the past, but he hasn't been happy for a long time, since he rejected the female doctor named Stephanie at Penner's suggestion. Owen, do you have any plans? Well, it's not very interesting to always play Easter egg shooting. Owen smiled. Christmas and New Year's Day are coming soon. Recently, a new themed horror house opened in Los Angeles. I heard that it is now very popular on the other side of the ocean. Many projects are extremely terrifying and have scared many tourists to the hospital. Emily asked me to go there to play. If you are interested, you can go together. Emily? Leonard was stunned and said in surprise, didn't you break up? What's the matter with breaking up or not? Owen waved his hand and smiled. We have always been friends. How about, let's go together? Don't you think that paintball shooting has been a one-sided massacre recently and it's boring? It's very interesting. Rajesh retorted. We used to be slaughtered unilaterally. Now that you have joined, we have finally reversed the situation. Of course we should play more. Agreed. Sheldon raised his hand in agreement and said, when we were chased and beaten by those little brats, I swore that one day I would lead everyone to fight back. Owen grinned. The little brats Sheldon mentioned were not a metaphor. They were really just a group of kids around 11 or 12 years old. In the 4 years before Owen came, Sheldon and the other 4 losers were abused by these little brats again and again. Wait a minute. Leonard was a little confused and complained subconsciously, why did Stephanie ignore me after I broke up, and Alamy took the initiative to ask you out again, even though she knew you were so flirtatious? Oh, Leonard. Owen didn't say anything. Sheldon had been stabbing him in the back as usual. He just smiled and shook his head as if he wanted to say something but stopped himself. No need to explain this kind of self-esteem hurting question, right? I have to say, I admire Leonard very much about this matter of Stephanie. Howard said seriously, as the third woman in his life, and the first woman who had no purpose and simply wanted to date Leonard, and even started living together. I was really surprised that Leonard could reject her. At this point, Howard sneered, is there anyone more stupid than Leonard in the world? He actually rejected a woman who threw herself at him, and now he has returned to his previous life as a single dog. It's been half a year, right? Are you very upset? Do you regret it? Leonard saw Sheldon and Howard's annoying looks, pouted and didn't want to talk. In fact, what Howard said was absolutely right. The first woman Leonard had a deep contact with in his life was Joyce King, a spy from the Great Universe North Country. She took the initiative to find Leonard for the confidential military project that Leonard was researching, but she ran away soon after. The second one is Leslie Winkle, who used Leonard as an experimental tool and threw him away soon after using him. The third one is Dr. Stephanie. Originally Stephanie was Howard's date, but she fell in love with Leonard. When Howard asked Leonard to take her home, the two of them got together in the car. What's more rare is that the very difficult Sheldon likes Stephanie very much because of her profession as a doctor. He encourages Leonard to pursue Stephanie in various ways and wishes that they can immediately establish a stable relationship. Of course, this they refers to Stephanie, Leonard and him, Sheldon. Stephanie really likes Leonard very much and soon lives with Leonard in disguise. As a result, under Penny's suggestions and encouragement, Leonard feels that the progress is too fast and wants to cool down and take a step back. In the end, this relationship is killed alive. But after this, Penny, who Leonard secretly thought was interested in him, did not take any action, but kept dating others. In this case, asking Leonard if he regretted it is like asking him if he likes women. The answer is of course yes. On the weekend, Owen and Emily took everyone to the newly opened theme horror house in Los Angeles. As a result, Sheldon was scared and screamed, and Rajesh was scared to death. Leonard and Howard were also scared. After leaving, they kept muttering. A person suddenly appeared in the air conditioner, shouting something, and rushed towards us like a runaway. It's so scary. Time flies, and Christmas passed in a blink of an eye. It came to New Year's Eve. Owen already had experience and did not deliberately stay alone. Anyway, there was no change in time before and after the time travel. When the New Year's bell rang again, Owen traveled through time again. Alaska. In a snowy mountain range, a small wooden house was located on a mountainside. But, did you hear anything? Owen had just recovered from the dizziness of traveling through time when he saw a big man in a jacket and a scruffy beard listening attentively. Another man next to him was holding a communication device and trying to contact him. It seems to be getting closer. Is there any response? No response. Is the equipment working properly? Yes, everything is normal. Could it be that they are here to deliver supplies? The supplies were distributed yesterday, and drones cannot land in this weather. Listening to the conversation between the two, the remaining memory of the identity arranged by the system flashed through Owen's mind like lightning. Owen's scalp suddenly numbed, and his heart beat violently. He already knew what was going on. System, activate the deep learning function of the academic master mode. With his life hanging by a thread, Owen took a deep breath, communicated directly with the American drama system, ignited the few remaining existence points, and decisively activated the deep learning function. All distractions caused by the great fear between life and death were quickly eliminated, and the whole person entered an absolutely calm and ethereal state. I'll go out and take a look first, Owen said to the two people calmly, picked up his combat backpack on the table, walked out of the cabin, as if nothing had happened, faced the snow and wind, narrowed his eyes, avoided the front, and walked slowly to the side. While walking, he pulled out a tactical dagger, slashed it hard at his waist, and expressionlessly dug out a piece of electron tube from it, ignoring the blood on it, and directly held it in his mouth. Boom. At this moment, a missile hit the cabin with a tail flame. P.S. Thanks to Drawfish for the reward. Chapter 150 The Burn Identity. Alaska. In the cabin. Before the missile strikes. I'll go out too. Everyone spread out. The bearded man looked at Owen's back and narrowed his eyes. The drug-enhanced perception and special training made him feel uneasy about everything now, and he instinctively made the right choice. Okay. Although the other person had undergone the same enhancement and training, there was always a difference between people. He also had a premonition that something was wrong, but he still chose to stay in the cabin and try to contact his superiors. Boom. A Hellfire air-to-ground missile was launched from the Predator drone. With an electronic signal device providing the signal, it accurately hit the cabin under satellite guidance. The powerful explosion blew the cabin and the people inside into pieces. The airwave rolled in and blew Owen and the bearded man outside the cabin away. Owen had anticipated this, and while flying in mid-air, he threw the electronic signal device in his mouth toward the center of the explosion. The cabin was a supply point, and it originally stored a lot of guns and ammunition, so the after explosion easily destroyed Owen's electronic signal device. Bang, bang, the two fell in the snow one after the other. Owen himself had a strong physique, so although he was hit hard by the airwave, he regained control of his body the moment he fell to the ground, and quickly stood up. The bearded man had been strengthened by drugs, and his body was also top-notch. After being stunned for a few seconds, he quickly recovered. But a Predator drone whizzed past in the air not far away. In the remaining memory of Owen's identity set by the system, the man in front of him was like him, an agent of the top-secret American plan, the Harvest Plan, who was undergoing wilderness survival training and secretly testing the medicinal properties of drugs that increased physical strength and intellectual perception. Based on the Bourne series of movies he had watched in his previous life, Owen recognized the big man in front of him as Alan Cross, the male protagonist in Jason Bourne 4. In the ethereal state of deep learning, the intelligence of up to level 5+ was running at high speed, combining all the information and quickly drawing conclusions. In Jason Bourne, the Harvest Project, which was so secret that even the CIA director didn't know about it, had a total of 9 testers. The purpose was to use advanced drugs to increase the physique, green pill, and intelligence, blue pill, of the agents, mass-produce super agents, and use them to lurk in enemy countries for intelligence and other work. The most famous one among them should be Jason Bourne, who has been making a lot of noise recently. As a first-generation tester, he became mentally ill because the blue pill that enhanced his intelligence was an unstable first-generation product. Therefore, he was demoted to the Harvest Project's subsidiary project, the Stumbling Block Project, and was used as a superkiller. On the one hand, he cleared the stumbling blocks for the Harvest Project, and on the other hand, the medical director of the Stumbling Block Project was responsible for soothing and straightening out his spirit. Because the Harvest Project was top secret, even the director of the subsidiary project, the Stumbling Block Project, was unaware of it. Jason Bourne used public tools for private purposes and assassinated many important figures with the help of Jason Bourne's powerful abilities. When Jason Bourne lost contact after a mission failed and fell into the sea, the Stumbling Block director, who mistakenly thought that Jason Bourne had betrayed him, was afraid that their corruption would be exposed and tried his best to hunt him down, but was killed by the powerful Jason Bourne one after another. The matter became more and more serious, and finally alarmed the host of the Harvest Project, former Air Force Colonel Rick Bear. After considering that the exposure of the matter would cause an unpredictable national scandal, he decisively chose to suspend the Harvest Project and issued an order to clean up all traces. Of the original 9 testers, 3 died of virus infection in the second phase of the drug trial. The remaining 6, Jason Bourne was number 1, Alan Cross in front of him was number 5, and the unlucky guy who was just blown up was also one of them. The remaining 3 were on a mission outside, and they ate the poison provided by the logistics staff without any defense, and died one after another. Owen is number 9. He should have died of the virus infection, but with the system arrangement, he survived the virus. When Owen's real body came through, the special immune properties of the Eternal Surplus gun instantly cleared all the effects of the drugs. Of course, the physical enhancement and intelligence enhancement effects also disappeared. However, with the various attributes that Owen has now enhanced with the existence point, it is naturally not comparable to the enhancement effects of these 2 drugs that have not yet reached the super science fiction level. These thoughts flashed through his mind, and Owen and Alan Cross looked at each other deeply, each chose a way, and fled separately. Owen quickly analyzed Alan Cross's destination, based on the special training memory of the identity arranged by the system, combined with superintelligence, and then ran towards another hidden high ground. Virginia. Special Operations Group of the US Intelligence Agency, UAV Command Center. Solo. Confirmed the destruction of 3 targets. Wait a minute. What's the situation? Calling Solo. Tracking. It seems that there is another mobile signal there. What? I thought you locked it. Indeed locked. The 3 target signals. All confirmed. We can't wait any longer. Let the Predator return to check the situation. Got it. On a high ground, Alan Cross quickly took out a special metal bowl from his tactical backpack and tied it around his waist. He didn't have as much courage as Owen, so he could only temporarily shield the electronic signal device in his body, causing the satellite to lose a signal and avoid the lock of the Predator drone. On another high ground, Owen took off his combat backpack and spread it on the snow, revealing the gun parts inside. After quickly and skillfully assembling it, a cool sniper rifle took shape in Owen's hands. Mini windrunner sniper rifle. Owen saw Alan Cross through the scope and saw that the other party had also assembled a sniper rifle, put it on his shoulder, and aimed it at the whistling Predator drone. Bang, bang. With 2 consecutive shots, the relatively slow drone was accurately hit by Alan Cross. The special high firepower mini windrunner sniper rifle also showed its power, directly destroying the drone and crashing it into the mountains. Owen stood still with a sniper rifle, aiming at Alan Cross through the scope. He saw him dismantle the sniper rifle, put it back into the backpack, and rush to the destroyed cabin. Unlike Owen, he is controlled by drugs. In his memory, once interrupted, his organs will fail, and the enhanced intellectual perception will quickly degenerate. This is also an effective way for the Harvest Plan to control the agents. He has been out of medicine for 36 hours, and must take medicine immediately. There were originally a lot of medicine stored in the cabin, but when he rushed back, he found that everything was reduced to ashes under the bombardment of Hellfire missiles. And with his intelligence, he easily judged that a new hunt was coming. P.S. The subscription has dropped a lot again, so the second update will still be at 1800 hours. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.